Chapter 1301. The silver-blue long-haired woman cursed in her heart. Solitary eternal lamp is indeed the eternal lamp of the 13 Lords of Radiance, but your master is not a Class 5 creation master. What's there to cooperate with me for? Before leaving, the woman suddenly thought of something and asked, and he. Logically speaking, this large whale fall belongs to the owner of this island. Show me proof that you're the island's owner, and I'll leave immediately. And he was immediately dumbfounded. The Blissful Sea tribe was the island's owner, and they had just completed the Blood Oath Extreme duel with the Meow family's beast creation garden in the royal capital. Even if he wanted to find the people of the Blissful Sea tribe, he couldn't afford to buy the island from the Blissful Sea tribe. It would take at least a day to bring the Blissful Sea tribe from the royal capital and make a round trip. One day was enough for the woman in front of him to collect the resources of a large whale fall. The woman's eyes lit up when she saw Anhi's expression, but she immediately became angry. If you're not the island's owner, why are you talking nonsense with me for so long? You even brought up the Huihai Treaty. I'm not going to snatch Raging Waves City's resources. I'm going to snatch the island's owner's resources. Only the island's owner is qualified to negotiate with me. Looking at Anhi in front of her, the more she thought about it, the angrier she got. Thinking about how Anhi had ridiculed the royal family and used the Huihai Treaty to suppress her, the woman's expression turned gloomy. The woman thought to herself, "Give this kid a slap, as long as you don't break him. Even if the Lord Eternal Lamp is protective, he won't go so far as to catch me when I hide in the sea, right?" With that thought in mind, the woman immediately tilted her head and swung her horns forward. 2 dark blue water pillars hit the face of the old man behind Anhi. While the old man was blocking the water pillars, the woman waved her hand. A round slap landed on Anhi's face. With that slap, the woman immediately felt the anger in her heart calming down. The woman cursed loudly. "You're not the island's owner. Why are you talking to me about mountains?" Anhi's body became unsteady from the woman's slap, and he fell to the ground. And he, who fell to the ground, was stunned for a moment. Feeling the burning pain on his face, the anger in Anhi's heart rushed to the top of his head uncontrollably. After the old man behind Anhi casually released a skill to block the water column, he happened to see Anhi being slapped in the face by the woman. Upon seeing this scene, the old man immediately stood between Anhi and the woman and summoned his fae furiously. A sheep with 4 hooves ablaze with green flames and several curved horns on its head appeared in front of the old man. There was a layer of mist floating around the sheep's body. After the sheep was summoned by the old man, it suddenly stomped its front hoof. The 2 balls of green flames on its hooves attacked the woman. Upon seeing this, the 2 ocean kings behind the woman immediately activated their immortal bodies and blocked the attacks of the 2 green flames. The old man looked at the silver-blue-haired woman in front of him and said coldly, "Don't hit people's faces. Slapping Master He's face is no different from slapping Master Chong Deng's face. Woman, you are courting death." Just as both sides were about to launch their attacks, a young and clear voice rang out from afar. "Who gave you the right to destroy my island's fishing grounds and topography? You have to fight in the high seas, but before you fight, you have to calculate how much money you should compensate me to make up for the island's losses." This voice came from Lin Yuan. On the way here, Lin Yuan thought about it again and finally decided to take off the mask that represented Sky City's City Lord identity. He was going to fight for this large-scale whale fall as the Moon Empress disciple. Qi Heng had returned to the royal capital, and Lin Yuan didn't care what identity he used. Anyway, there was a small probability that the dispute would be spread by Anhi, and even if it was spread, it wouldn't prove anything. In addition, Lin Yuan had to use the identity of the Moon Empress disciple to solve the Meow family's beast creation garden's problems in Sky City. If Qi Heng found out afterward, he might think that the Moon Empress disciple had intercepted the Sky City's City Lord. Lin Yuan held the Stormy Wave Guard captain's certificate in his hand, which could prove that Lin Yuan was the owner of this large-scale whale fall. Next, be it with an he or the marine species expert. Lin Yuan was always the most reasonable one. After knowing that Lin Yuan had decided to participate in this storm as the Moon Empress disciple, the mother of Bloodbath and Lu Jie took off their mask. After thinking for a moment, Lu Jie decided to wear the Spirit Guard's standard mask on his face. He didn't intend to tell the outside world that Lu Jie was the chief guard's disciple. While talking, Lin Yuan's eyes weren't idle. He was using Morbius True Data to find out about the bull-shaped fey that was bigger than the island in the sea, as well as the huge purple cocoon beside the towering mountain on the island. Fey name, Mountain Guard Kuei Fey species. Odorifery/desolate Fey grade. Diamond 10 out of 10, Fey type, Earth, Fey quality, Fantasy V abilities Frowny Face Mountain Ripple. Gather the power of the mountain and charge toward the target. Mountain Ripple 9 tremors. The target hit by the mountain ripple will suffer 9 tremors when the earth elements invade the body. The 9 tremors damage will not stack, but an explosion will occur when 2 tremors collide. Mountain Roar. The roar commands the earth elements within a certain range, causing them to jump and gather together to form a towering mountain. Dry Land. Uses the earth elements to absorb the other elemental energy in the surroundings, using the other elemental energy as nutrients to make the earth elements more active and harder. Mountain Defense. Sacrifices a designated mountain and shrouds the target with the mountain's endurance, helping the target resist physical and elemental damage. Earth Vein Transformation. Injects all the earth elements in the body into the ground, triggering the earth veins and changing the terrain. Through the earth veins, the activity of the earth elements in the ground will be enhanced, causing the activity of the earth elements to multiply. Exclusive skill Frowny Face Earth Suppression Lien Li. When hearing the target's voice, the karmic lines on the target's body can be detected based on the target's voice. Through the karmic lines, the target's good or evil can be determined. When facing the judged good, the target's defense will be greatly increased. When facing the judged evil, the target's attack power will be increased. Only one target can be detected at a time, and the increase in detection will not increase with the number of targets detected. Forbidden Fruit of Earth. Orders the earth to gather all the earth elements and produce a forbidden fruit on the earth veins. After eating the forbidden fruit, the entire land will become a part of the body for a short time. ABC. Chapter 1302. Fey name, Awakening Hibernation Horned Dragon Fey species. Lepidoptera/horn species, Fey grade. Diamond 10 out of 10, Fey type, Water/Earth, Fey quality, Fantasy IV abilities Frowny Face Surging Rock. Condense a solid rock body by tempering the earth elements in the ground. Control the rock body to form various shapes and surge out of the surface to launch attack. Repelling rock body. Through the mutation of the earth elements in the rock body, allow the rock body to have a certain gravitational and repulsive force and freely manipulate them. Awakening Hibernation Statue. Condense a stone statue with the same strength as the main body. The stone statue can recover injuries by absorbing earth element. Water-Earth Transformation. Swallow the water elements and earth elements into the abdomen. The water elements around the swallowed earth elements can be freely transformed into earth elements, and earth elements into water elements. Dragon Body Liberation. Instantly stimulate the energy in the body, gather the energy in the body on the dragon horn, and launch an all-out attack at the target. Hibernation Revival. When receiving fatal damage, the fatal damage can be transferred to the Awakening Hibernation Statue. When the Awakening Hibernation Statue shatters, the main body will obtain vitality equal to the damage the Awakening Hibernation Statue received. Exclusive skill Frowny Face Weak Insect Body. Transform oneself into an insect state, overturning Stinger, to accumulate energy. When one wants to transform into the main body, one needs to go through a period of cocooning. At that time, the accumulated energy in the insect body will be perfectly integrated into the original body. The insect body can contain twice the energy of the main body. Earth attraction body. Turn oneself into the core of gravitational or repulsive force. Under the state of gravitational force, one can attract the surrounding things to the front of oneself. Under the effect of repulsive force, one can expel everything around oneself in other directions with oneself as the origin. Lin Yuan didn't investigate these two phases blindly and subconsciously. Through his perception, Lin Yuan found that these two phases had the weakest auras in the entire place. This meant that these two phases were likely to be in He's phase. Probing these two phases would be considered obtaining and He's information. Lin Yuan's eyes suddenly narrowed. And He's strength was stronger than Lin Yuan had imagined. It was no wonder and he could take advantage of Gu Lang. Had it not been for Zhong Zai's desolate bloodline Fei, the heaven-burning centipede's bloodline purification and the red plum meteorite fire, Zhong Zai might not have been in He's match. He might not even be in He's opponent in a fight. And He's desolate bloodline Fei, suppressing mountain Kuei, was a pure Earth-type desolate bloodline Fei and had extremely strong control over Earth. Lin Yuan's golden wing, a desolation bloodline Fei, was only at bronze, and its ability had yet to take form. It was impossible to make an effective comparison with Zhen Yu Kuei. If Zhen Yu Kuei and Heaven-Burning Ho were to be compared, Zhen Yu Kuei's skill, mountain-shaking 9 quakes, and Heaven-Burning Ho's skill, Heavenly Flame 8 refinements, were similar. Although the damage of the mountain-shaking 9 tremors could not be stacked like the mystical Flame 8 refinements, the damage of the mountain-shaking 9 tremors could not be stacked. However, it could induce the earth element to explode in the process of vibrating, causing damage to the target's body. Combined with Mountain Shaker, Lin Yuan could not accurately estimate how much damage the Diamond X/Fantasy V Mountain Shaker 9 shocks would cause to the target. In short, with just these two skills, Zhen Yu Kuei could challenge those of a higher level. At this moment, the 1,000-meter-tall mountains on the island were most likely the result of mountain-suppressing Kuei's mountain roar. The mountain-suppressing Ho's dry land solidification allowed Zhen Yu Kuei to not be passive in any environment. The ability to turn other elements into earth elements allowed Zhen Yu Kuei to become an all-around Fei in all environments. This was much stronger than Zhong Zai's Heaven-Burning Ho and Lin Yuan's Golden Wing. Zhong Zai's Heaven-Burning Ho and Lin Yuan's Golden Wing could not adapt to all environments. In an environment without fire elements, the Heaven-Burning Ho's strength would be limited. In an environment without wind, the Golden Wing would not be able to control the wind elements to carry out effective attacks on the target. However, the strength of a Desolation Bloodline Fei could not be compared based on whether it could adapt to the environment or not. Take Lin Yuan's Golden Wing for example. The Golden Wing's exclusive skill, Unpredictable Temperament, could store any exclusive skills and passive skills belonging to other Feis. This was not something that the Zhen Yu Kuei's exclusive skills and skills could compare. If Lin Yuan was willing, the Zhen Yu Kuei's exclusive skills, Earth Suppression Lotus Rite, and Forbidden Fruit of Earth, Golden Wing could be stored. In fact, the Zhen Yu Kuei was not only a Fei that could adapt to all environments, but its abilities, dry land solidification and earth vein transformation, could also enhance other earth-type Feis. Especially the earth vein transformation, which could guide the earth vein to change the direction of the earth vein, was something that Lin Yuan's source sand could not do. The earth element's activity would double, allowing any earth-type ability to achieve double the original effect. The mountain range fortification allowed the Zhen Yu Kuei to have the ability to protect itself and its companions by sacrificing mountains. In addition, the mountain range could be easily created with the mountain's roar. This greatly enhanced the defensive effect of the mountain range fortification. The exclusive skill, Earth Suppression Lotus Rite, was able to distinguish between good and evil. It was similar to a kind of mind-reading ability. It allowed Anha to use karma to distinguish between good and evil. Not only could the Earth Suppression Lotus right determine good and evil, but it could also use good and evil to increase its defense or attack power. On a powerful target, a 20% increase in attack power or defense was not a small amount. As for the Zhen Yu Kuei's exclusive skill, Forbidden Fruit of Earth, Lin Yuan had nothing to say. The Forbidden Fruit of Earth was the strongest exclusive skill among all the Earth-type Fays that Lin Yuan had seen. When the Zhen Yu Kuei used his exclusive skill, Forbidden Earth Fruit, he could proudly say to all the Earth Elemental Fays, "I am the Earth." In fact, what made Lin Yuan feel that Anha was strong was not just the Zhen Yu Kuei's strength, but the combination of the Zhen Yu Kuei and the Awakening Hibernation Drake's abilities. The Awakening Hibernation Drake was an Earth-type and Water-type Fae. At the same time, it could also use extremely exquisite gravitational and repulsive forces. If the Zhen Yu Kuei was said to be a functional Fae with the Desolation bloodline that combined offense and defense, then the Awakening Hibernation Drake would be a perfect main attacker. The Awakening Hibernation Drake's ability, Awakening Hibernation Image, was a perfect copy of an existence with the same combat power as its main body. The ability, Hibernation Revival, allowed the Awakening Hibernation Drake to borrow the Awakening Hibernation Image to reduce damage. After the Awakening Hibernation Image was shattered, the Awakening Hibernation Drake could also use it to recover a certain amount of vitality. This allowed the Awakening Hibernation Drake to not only treat the Awakening Hibernation Image as its assistant, but it could also use it as a shield and a medical kit. The ability, Water-Earth Transformation, allowed the Awakening Hibernation Drake to be more agile in combat. The Dragon Body Liberation gave the Awakening Hibernation Drake the ability to strike at full force. Lin Yuan had never seen a Fae that could use gravitational and repulsive forces. He wondered if being able to use gravity and repulsion would be strong in battle. However, the ability to attract things in the surroundings to its front or use itself as the origin to push everything in the surroundings away would not be too weak. ABC. Chapter 1303. The only thing that could be criticized about the Awakening Hibernating Drake was its weak ability. The hinterland hibernating worm would need to go through a cocoon to transform into a Awakening Hibernating Drake. During this process, the Awakening Hibernating Drake would be an immovable target. However, this was precisely the reason why the Awakening Hibernating Drake was so powerful. When the cocoon broke and the Awakening Hibernating Drake appeared, the accumulated energy in the hinterland hibernating worm state would allow the Awakening Hibernating Drake's strength to multiply. The Awakening Hibernating Drake was undoubtedly another Fae that could fight above its grade. The Awakening Hibernating Drake was an Earth and Earth dual Fae. In addition, the Awakening Hibernating Drake had the ability to convert water and earth element. And his Awakening Hibernating Drake was only at Fantasy 4. One reason and he wanted to fight for this large whale fall was to obtain the island whale embryo. The other reason was to use the large whale fall's nutrients to increase the Awakening Hibernating Drake's quality from Fantasy 4 to Fantasy V. Lin Yuan secretly calculated in his heart. Just with the Suppressing Mountain Kuei and the Awakening Hibernating Drake summoned by an He, Lin Yuan would not be able to defeat an He with his contracted phase. In order to defeat an He, Lin Yuan would need to use the Sacred Source Lifeform Princess Sacred Sword mode. After inspecting the Suppressing Mountain Kuei and the Awakening Hibernating Drake, Lin Yuan did not inspect any other phase present. With the Void Shadow Demon in his shadow, he could sense that none of the other Fays present were below Immortal rank. As for Immortal rank Fays, Lin Yuan was unable to use Morbius True Data to inspect them. Forcefully inspecting them would instead cause the inspected target to react. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, the silver blue-haired woman and an He's side, which were in a stalemate, suddenly looked in Lin Yuan's direction. However, the expressions on their faces were completely different. And He's face, which was originally filled with anger, revealed an ecstatic expression. The silver blue-haired woman's brows were tightly furrowed. The woman's expression, which had been one of relief, became abnormally grave. The old man behind and he looked at Lin Yuan and turned to shout at the silver blue-haired woman. Flame-treading light smoke beast, immortal body, activate. Even if I can't keep you here, I will keep the two sea kings behind you here. Let's see how you're going to develop in the territory without your left and right arms. Following the elder's command, the multi-horned sheep that was shrouded in mist and stood on green flames immediately let out a deafening roar. Immediately after, the fog above the island thickened, and green flames surged within the fog. In the mist, a middle-aged man with fey characteristics appeared in the air. He had goat horns on his head, hooves on his feet, and a tail on his buttocks. His skin was covered with fur and colored armor, his eyes had the eyes of a beast, and his neck had the mane of a beast. His body was like colored glass. 9 distinct fey characteristics appeared on the middle-aged man's body, which was shrouded in mist and had 4 feet treading on flames. This was enough to prove that this flame-treading light smoke beast was a rank 9 immortal fey. After the flame-treading smoke beast activated its immortal skill, the lingering mist shot towards the silver blue-haired woman and the 2 women behind her. Looking at the green flames within the smoke, the silver blue long-haired woman knew that she could not dodge at this time. Although he could easily dodge this attack by running away, the 2 subordinates behind him couldn't. Under such an attack, even if the 2 of them didn't die, they would be severely injured. In a battle where one's rank was superior, once they were injured, there would be no possibility of escape. After understanding this, the silver blue long-haired woman shouted, "The 2 of you can't block it. Don't block it forcefully. Hurry up and activate your immortal body and hide under my tail." After saying that, the silver blue long-haired woman's horns, which were almost as long as her body, released a faint blue light. The woman swung the 2 thick golden fins on her horns forward. The woman's original human form suddenly had some fish-like characteristic. The woman's legs suddenly closed, and glossy silver scales grew on her legs. Although the woman's closed legs didn't form a mermaid's tail, it was even more magnificent than a mermaid's tail. At the end of the tail, there was a silver fin that drifted with the wind. There was also a thick golden thread on the silver fin at the tail. As the 3 fin ribbons danced, the woman seemed to have become the core of the sea. At this moment, the sea turned from its original dark blue to the color of ink. The ink seawater formed a huge wave that was enough to cover a 2-kilometer mountain, but this huge wave didn't rush toward the island. Instead, it rushed toward the light fog and green smoke that the flaming treading light smoke beast was attacking. When the ink seawater touched the green flame that was wrapped in the light fog, the golden thread on the woman's 3 fin ribbons suddenly lit up. The woman stretched out her hand and pointed forward as she shouted, "Ink Sea Abyssal, Dark Water Emperor's Edict." Because he had been slapped in the face, the elder's heart was already filled with killing intent. Therefore, he ordered the flaming treading light smoke beast to activate its immortal body and attack with a killing move, leaving no room for maneuver. Under such a strong attack, the purple-blue long-haired woman and the 2 sea kings behind her didn't have the time to react. However, Sun Jiang, who was from the 5 Thearchs mercenary team, recognized Lin Yuan the moment he saw him. The person who represented the 5 Thearchs mercenary team to attend the Nyx assembly was Sun Jiang. Lin Yuan had shown brilliantly in the civil and martial duel with Zhong Zhe at the Nyx assembly, making everyone unaware that he was the Moon Empress disciple. Before anyone knew that he was the Moon Empress disciple, they couldn't take their eyes off this young man. Moreover, during the Nyx assembly, Lin Yuan didn't just take the first place in the civil and martial duel. In the civil and martial duel that no one saw, Lin Yuan also suppressed Zhong Zhe and took the first place. Behind the Moon Empress disciple stood a youth wearing a Spirit Guard's standard mask. Looking at his figure and temperament, this youth wearing the Spirit Guard's standard mask was very likely the Spirit Guard Chief Guard Knight Leaning Moon's disciple. 2 of Her Holiness disciples were on this island, and the Moon Empress disciple, Lin Yuan, even said that this island was his private property. It seemed like it would be difficult for young Master He to obtain the large whalefall. While Sun Jiang was thinking, Zhang Qing, who was beside him, couldn't help but speak after hearing Lin Yuan's words. "Kid, do you have the proof from Stormy Wave City? To prove that you are the island's owner?" Lin Yuan raised his brows and replied, "Of course. Of course. I can't prove that this island is mine, and I don't have the right to ask you to stop. However, you didn't seem to have the intention to stop after listening to my words. Instead, you started to fight." Zhang Qing's face lit up when he heard Lin Yuan's words, while Sun Jiang's heart was in his throat. Sun Jiang couldn't care less and quickly pulled Zhang Qing, who was beside him. ABC. Chapter 1304. Only those who attended the Great Night meeting were fortunate enough to see the Moon Empress disciples and the Chief Night Bureau's disciples. There were no Star Web reporters at the Nix assembly, and no one dared to take photos of such a grand event. If they took a picture of a big boss and spread it out, it would cause a disaster for no reason. Therefore, most of the factions had only heard of the Moon Empress disciple's name. However, Lin Yuan had been chosen as a lucky spectator during the challenge match at the All-Star match. Many factions used this opportunity to know what the Moon Empress disciple looked like. Sun Jiang remembered that he had told Zhang Qing before, but Zhang Qing clearly hadn't watched this year's All-Star competition. Otherwise, it was impossible for him not to recognize Lin Yuan now. Otherwise, no matter how stupid Zhang Qing was, he wouldn't rush to question Lin Yuan in front of an he to show off. Zhang Qing was suddenly pulled by Sun Jiang, and he immediately turned to look at Sun Jiang. She didn't understand why Sun Jiang was pulling her so hard. Seeing Sun Jiang winking at him, Zhang Qing thought that Sun Jiang had taken the wrong medicine. Just now, when Zhang Qing called and he to wake up, and he glared at him several times, which made Zhang Qing feel very wronged. At this moment, Zhang Qing wanted to take this opportunity to change an he's opinion of him. Thus, Zhang Qing ignored Sun Jiang, who was winking at him. Instead, he turned to look at Lin Yuan and yelled, "You're not going to fight me? Our young master he wants this island. Hurry up and hand over the proof to young master he. When young master he is done with the matter at hand, you won't be lacking in benefits." When Sun Jiang heard that, he hated himself for only pulling Zhang Qing and not covering his mouth. Zhang Qing's mouth was like the crotch of an old lady's cotton pants. Nothing good would come out of his mouth. That was the Moon Empress disciple. What right does a leader of a top-notch faction like you have to speak to the Moon Empress disciple in such a manner? Even if young master he was Lord Changdeng's disciple, there would still be a lot of benefits. Young master he was not qualified to say such words to Lin Yuan, who was also His Holiness disciple. Since Zhang Qing had already said it, there was no turning back. Sun Jiang was prepared to inform an he of Lin Yuan's identity immediately. Based on Sun Jiang's understanding of an he, who had never been concerned about external affairs, it was impossible for an he to recognize the Moon Empress disciple just based on appearance. Just as Sun Jiang was about to tell an he about Lin Yuan's identity, Sun Jiang heard the voice of the youth on the back of the huge butterfly who was rushing toward them. "Do I have to give your young master he what he wants? I didn't know your young master he had such a big face." Sun Jiang's heart thumped when he heard that. She hurriedly came to an he's ear, bent down and whispered in an he's ear, "Young master he, the person who came is Lin Yuan, the Moon Empress disciple." The youth wearing the Spirit Guard's standard mask behind Lin Yuan is most likely Night Leaning Moon's disciple. Since Zhang Cheng's words had caused a conflict, and he had to know Lin Yuan's identity. Otherwise, Lin Yuan's words would have been enough to ignite Anha, who had been slapped in the face. If Lin Yuan and he had a confrontation, then the matter would be completely blown up. However, Sun Jiang was an emperor-class powerhouse who had come out of the Bright Lamp Tower to establish his own force. At this time, He simply could not control the development of the situation. It was useless to worry. In the end, it still depended on Lin Yuan and he. Looking at the enraged Zhang Qing after hearing Lin Yuan's words, Sun Jiang came to Zhang Qing's side and covered Zhang Qing's mouth tightly. He had made up his mind to stop Zhang Qing from speaking. If Zhang Qing said something disrespectful at this time and the Moon Empress disciple pursued the matter, Zhang Qing would be in big trouble. When he heard Sun Jiang's words, his eyes flickered, and he took a deep breath and said to the old man who was fighting with the silver blue-haired woman, "Grandfather Gu, stop first." After asking the old man to stop, and he turned to look at Lin Yuan with a complicated gaze. At the same time, he looked at Lu Jie. After looking for a long time, and he said, "Apologies. My uncle didn't know your identity and said something disrespectful. I hope you don't mind." When Zhang Qing, whose mouth was covered by Sun Jiang, heard he's words, he was stunned. He didn't understand why young master, he would apologize to the person who came. The person who just came obviously didn't give young master he any face, and from young master he's words, he was apologizing on his behalf. Unlike Zhang Qing, who was clueless about the situation, Sun Jiang's heart was overflowing with warmth when he heard he's words. And he had just suffered a slap, and his heart was raging with rage. Since he was willing to speak up for Zhang Qing, it was enough to prove that he really treated Zhang Qing as his elder, and not just a servant. Even if Zhang Qing's words never made he feel comfortable. When Lin Yuan heard he took the initiative to apologize, he didn't continue to put on an overbearing attitude. However, when he looked at the island in front of him, he didn't feel happy at all. The island that the Sea of Bliss had painstakingly built to make a comeback had been destroyed beyond recognition by he and the sea species expert. If they wanted to develop this island again, everything had to be rebuilt. At this moment, the angelfish of bliss that the Sea of Bliss had reared in the distant sea had probably escaped into the sea. "I appreciate your apology. Calculate the losses on this island, then leave this island. Everyone can develop on their own and live in peace. Snatching resources in the public area depends on one's own ability. In someone else's territory, there is no such thing as fair competition for resources. If you want to fight for resources in someone else's territory, it is equivalent to plundering. I think young master, he should understand this principle." And his face suddenly turned gloomy, and he didn't speak anymore. The old man in front of he was also puzzled and frowned at Lin Yuan. The old man was he's path protector, and he always followed he wherever he went. And he didn't participate in the Nix assembly, so the old man naturally couldn't find out Lin Yuan's identity from he. After the Nix assembly, he was taught a lesson by Her Highness Long Lantern and driven out to train. The old man couldn't find out who the Moon Empress disciple was from others. At this moment, the old man saw he stepped forward and asked, "Let me confirm your identity now. You are the Moon Empress disciple, and you are the Chief Guard Ye's disciple, right?" Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan and Lu Jie nodded and calmly admitted their identities. Back then, Lin Yuan took off the mask that represented Sky City's city lord and took over the island as the Moon Empress disciple. He wanted to communicate with he as an equal with this identity. And he could give face to Her Highness disciple, but he might not necessarily give face to the faction's leader. Through the contact with Zhong Zhe and Gu Lang, Lin Yuan could feel their contempt for the faction. From Zhong Zhe and Gu Lang's attitude, Lin Yuan could feel their contempt for the faction. ABC. Chapter 1305. After Lin Yuan and Lu Jie nodded, the old man's and Zhang Qing's gazes at them immediately changed. In particular, the old man behind he was looking at Lin Yuan with a somewhat complicated expression. If it was another Majesty's disciple, young master he might not give him any face when he got angry. Even the Class 5 Creation Master, Bamboo Monarch's disciple, Gu Lang Anha, didn't show any mercy. However, this matter involved the Moon Empress disciple, so and he would definitely give her face. It seemed that Anha was destined to give up this large whale fall. The old man knew Lin Yuan's and Lu Jie's identities, but Zhang Qing was dumbfounded. After being dumbfounded, Zhang Qing felt a lingering fear in his heart. In the end, Zhang Qing thought of Anheuser-Busch apologizing on his behalf. Zhang Qing's uneasy heart suddenly gave birth to a warm current that washed over his whole body. Anhao extended his hand to Lin Yuan and said, "Show me the proof from Stormy Wave City." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan placed the document that the Stormy Wave Guard captain had just signed 2 days ago in Anha's hand. Seeing the seal of the Stormy Wave City Lord Mansion and the date of change on the document, and he calmly returned the certificate to Lin Yuan and said, "I'll let you guys assess the damage on the island. I won't give you any less compensation." The proof just now was equivalent to Lin Yuan giving Anhe a lesson, letting him understand that he had to start from the root of things. Otherwise, all of his efforts would be in vain once someone else grasped the root of the problem. Although An had decided not to compete for this large whale fall. However, the large whale that was supposed to be in his hands had changed owners, which made Anhe even more unhappy. And he turned his head and looked sharply at the silver blue-haired woman. "I don't want the large whale fall anymore. It's time for us to settle the score." The silver blue-haired woman ignored Anhe and spoke to Lin Yuan. "Are you the disciple of the Radiant Moon Empress? Nice to meet you. My name is Indai. I came here to help you defend this huge whale fall. That's why I got into a conflict with them. At the end of the day, it's all thanks to my guidance that the whale would land here. Now they're blaming me for not letting them receive this huge whale fall. You can't just ignore it." Upon hearing her words, Lin Yuan's brows twitched wildly. A group of cetacean fays at the end of their lifespans would have to cruise for up to 3 years before dying. The whales would cruise to determine where they would land in the end. The silver blue-haired woman was a member of one of the 8 imperial clans of Neptune. She indeed had the ability to change the giant whale's choice of landing position. But let's not talk about whether you were the one who caused this massive whale fall. Even if you were the one who caused it, what does it have to do with me? It has only been 3 days since I became the master of this island. As for the woman's claim that it was to stop Anhe from collecting the large whale fall, that was even more ridiculous. Obviously, it was this woman who was waiting here to collect the large whale fall. The conflict between her and Anhe was purely because of the competition for resources. Looking at the palm print on the left side of Anhe's face that hadn't disappeared, Lin Yuan could guess that there was no longer any interest in this conflict. The reason why Anhe still couldn't give up. If you slapped someone in the face and wanted them to not find trouble with you, then wouldn't Anhe become a male bodhisattva? When Indai saw that Lin Yuan did not respond to her, she could not help but blink. Originally, before slapping Anhe in the face, Indai had been forced by the situation to give up the large-scale whale fall. She had slapped Anhe in the face purely to vent her anger. Indai knew that Anhe would find trouble with her after she vented her anger, and would not let it go. However, as an expert of the Imperial clan who had just reached adulthood, Indai also had the capital to slap Anhe in the face. As long as Indai wanted to hide, unless the eternal lamp crown evaporated all the ocean, she would not be able to find him. Otherwise, it would be impossible for her to find him. Without this large whale fall, Indai did not care much about this not-so-rich territory outside the Radiant sect. However, Lin Yuan's arrival had solved Indai's dilemma to some extent. In addition, Lin Yuan's temperament and appearance were very attractive to Indai. Somehow, Indai just wanted to take the initiative to talk to Lin Yuan a few more times. When the old man next to Anhe, Zhang Qing, and Sun Jiang heard Indai's words, their faces turned terrifyingly gloomy. Just as the old man was about to command the flaming light smoke beast to attack Indai again, Indai took the lead and spoke to Lin Yuan again. "My territory is outside the Stormy Wave City. From west to east, it is about 100,000 square nautical miles. If you help me, I will let you choose the resources in this sea region. Perhaps we can even mutually benefit from this 100,000 square nautical miles of sea region and reach some cooperation. Just now, he said that his master is called Ji Chongdeng and wants to cooperate with me. I am not interested in the Radiant Sect's majesty, who is not a creation master, so I am willing to trade with you. Before Lin Yuan could speak, and he exploded when he heard Indai's words. From Indai's tone, and he could hear that Indai was currying favor with Lin Yuan's master and despising his master. Thinking of his master's situation, and he could no longer hold it in, and he immediately turned his head and spoke to Lin Yuan. I heard that you are the champion of the Evernight Convention's civil and martial ring. You should be very strong. I know that you really want to trade with this woman of the Ocean Empire's 8 clans. Let's have a fight. If I lose, I will no longer pursue this female seafood and find trouble with her. If you lose, I don't need you to do anything. I just hope that you know that the Radiant Sect's 13 majesties are equal. Among the 13 majesties, the Moon Empress, the Chef Supreme, and the Bamboo Monarch are not higher than the other 10 majesties. Lin Yuan was stunned by An He's words. He did not understand why An He would inexplicably challenge him. However, based on Indai's words and An He's reaction, Lin Yuan felt that An He's mind was relatively simple. He did not like to hide anything and liked to express it straightforwardly. Lin Yuan could hear that An He was very repulsed by the opinion that a Class 5 Creation Master's status was higher than the other majesties. Perhaps this was why An He always found trouble with Gu Lang and Zhong Zhe. Zhong Zhe and Gu Lang just did not like An He, but they did not really hate him. The Radiance Sect's 13 majesties jointly maintained the Radiance Federation's glory as one of the 3 major federations and the stability of the Radiance Sect's billions of people. Every majesty had an indispensable position and was working hard for the Radiance Sect. Lin Yuan's master, the Moon Empress, the Chef Supreme, and the Bamboo Monarch were Class 5 creation masters who could enhance phase, and the other majesties had to look for the Moon Empress, the Chef Supreme, and the Bamboo Monarch for help. But when it came to the position of majesties, there was no difference in their status. Lin Yuan loved his master, the Moon Empress, the most, but he also respected the other 13 majesties of the Radiance Sect. However, and he was right about one thing. Indai's words had aroused Lin Yuan's interest. ABC. Chapter 1306. Lin Yuan had the intention to cooperate with Indai regarding the resources within the 100,000 miles of the sea. Lin Yuan walked in front of An He and looked at the frowning and stubbornness in An He's eyes. He said softly, "As far as I can remember, I have never seen His Majesty the Eternal Lamp. But in my heart, His Majesty and my master are both majesties, and there is no difference between them. The Sea Tribe is born from phase, and we are used to looking at things from the perspective of phase, but we are humans. It's not just me. Zhongze and Gu Lang think the same." Lin Yuan looked at the stubbornness in An He's eyes. It was probably because of this that An He had always been at odds with Gu Lang and Zhongze. If not for the fact that An He already had this idea in his heart, Indai's words would not have hurt him so much. And he was stunned when he heard Lin Yuan's words. And he pursed his lips and stared into Lin Yuan's eyes. Looking at the unfeigned sincerity in Lin Yuan's eyes, and he felt as though he could see a pure and real soul through Lin Yuan's eyes. However, the fact that staring into Lin Yuan's eyes made him fall into a daze made An He's pursed lips even tighter. And he only felt that the back of his ears was a little hot. And he hurriedly changed the topic. He casually grabbed a rainbow light orb and said to Lin Yuan, "I still want to fight with you. If you win, I will give this uncontracted sacred source lifeform to you as a wager." Lin Yuan looked at the sacred source lifeform in An He's hand and asked, "What about me? What about me?" And he pointed at the giant purple cocoon beside him and said, "My awakening terror drake needs this large-scale whale fall to evolve from Fantasy 4 to Fantasy V. If I win, I hope you will allow me to use the resources from this large-scale whale fall to raise the awakening terror drake's quality. Raising the awakening terror drake's quality will require less than 1/10 of the resources from this large-scale whale fall. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan shook his head. With a shake of his hand, he also took out a colorful light ball and said to He. He said to He, "This large-scale whale fall is also useful to me, so I cannot allow you to use the resources from this large-scale whale fall. I won't take advantage of you. I'll also use an uncontracted sacred source lifeform as the wager." Lu Jie, the slaughterer butterfly, and the mother of bloodbath were used to Lin Yuan and He's wager. In the mansion, Lin Yuan had taken out many sacred source lifeforms for others to contract. The old man behind He did not feel anything, but Zhang Qing and Sun Jiang were not calm. This was a sacred source lifeform. Sacred source lifeforms were Zhang Qing and Sun Jiang's dream. Moreover, the two of them had never contracted a sacred source lifeform, so they coveted sacred source lifeforms. However, Zhang Qing and Sun Jiang were not the most greedy ones, but Yin Dai. Yin Dai was a member of the royal family who had been ostracized, and even her fiefdom was given to her in the sea region, which was barren of resources. Therefore, even though Yin Dai had reached the immortal realm, she had never contracted a sacred source lifeform like Zhang Qing and Sun Jiang. The main reason why Yin Dai was willing to come to this sea region, which was barren of resources, was that she wanted to see the sea region that he was guarding. Could this sea region coincidentally open up a Class 5 water world dimensional rift? At the immortal realm, Yin Dai could easily obtain a sacred source lifeform from a Class 5 water world dimensional rift. However, Class 5 water world dimensional rifts were too difficult to obtain. In any case, Yin Dai had never encountered one before. However, among the 3 upper races of the Ocean Empire's 8 races, Mermaid Mang from the Imperial Mermaid race happened to open a Class 5 water world dimensional rift in her territory not long ago. This made Yin Dai extremely envious. It was not that Yin Dai had not thought of snatching the sacred source lifeform from the Class 5 water world dimensional rift in Mermaid Mang's territory. However, Yin Dai could not defeat Mermaid Mang. Even if Mermaid Mang entered her own sea region, Yin Dai could only flee. After all, Mermaid Mang was a Class 9 Great Monarch and a Class 8 Immortal Realm expert. At the same time, Mermaid Mang possessed a sacred source lifeform. Recently, Yin Dai had been feeling a faint sense of danger. Based on her intuition, Yin Dai felt that this sense of danger was related to Mermaid Mang. Right now, the sacred source lifeform that she had been yearning for was in someone else's hands as a wager. This gave Yin Dai the illusion that sacred source lifeforms had become cabbages. And he did not say anything and only nodded. He agreed with Lin Yuan's words. And he felt rather melancholy. The water element produced by a large whale fall was the purest. According to the grade of Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls, the water element in a large whale fall was much purer than Ding Fuxing's pearl. To be able to reach the purity of Lan Lanshan's pearl, there was almost no stock of Heavenly Maiden grade water elemental pearls in the market. It seemed that if he wanted to improve the waking hibernating nightmare dragon's quality, he would have to encounter another large whale fall. Otherwise, his master would have to seek help from Bamboo Monarch or Chef Supreme. And he did not want to cause trouble for his master. Thus, he planned to rely on his own strength to collect the Heavenly Maiden grade water elemental pearls in Lan Lanshan's pearl or search for information about a large whale fall. The battle now is unfair to you. My waking hibernating nightmare dragon has been in a cocoon for a long time and can break out at any time. I will give you time to prepare. Once you are done, we will begin the battle. Lin Yuan shook his head and said, "There is no need to prepare. There's no need to set up anything." After saying that, Lin Yuan did not probe Zhong Zhe like he had done during the civil and martial duel. The princess's projection appeared behind Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan had probed Zhongzhe because he did not know what phase Zhongzhe had. Now that an He's phase had been summoned and displayed, Lin Yuan had finished probing them. And He's desolate bloodline phase, mountain-suppressing Kuei and the waking hibernating nightmare dragon, had the ability to fight above their ranks and protect themselves. In a battle with an He, Lin Yuan would bring out his full strength from the start and catch an He off guard. When an He heard Lin Yuan say "let's begin," he thought that Lin Yuan was looking down on him. However, when he saw Lin Yuan activate the sacred source lifeform without hesitation, and he knew that Lin Yuan was not looking down on him. If Lin Yuan had been looking down on him, he would not have used the sacred source lifeform. And he immediately entered a battle state. However, and he did not want to take advantage of Lin Yuan, so he decided not to use the sacred source lifeform in the battle. At that moment, and he saw the phantom of the woman behind Lin Yuan suddenly change. The phantom of the woman closed her arms and embraced Lin Yuan in a gentle and devout manner. The moment she embraced Lin Yuan, the phantom behind Lin Yuan turned into a sword that could be held in one's hand. The scabbard of the sword was clearly engraved with a woman's appearance. However, in the princess' sacred sword embrace state, the scabbard could no longer block the eerie sword light shining from the tip of the sword. Lin Yuan had already unsheathed the sword. Several dark crows were circling around the sword in Lin Yuan's hand. End of chapter. Chapter 1307. One after another, dark crows flew out of Lin Yuan's sacred sword's blade. Each dark crow was wrapped in the Dark Knight's murderous aura. It was as though countless lifeforms were slowly withering under the attack of the dark crows in the endless night. In the end, there were a total of 28 dark crows flying around the sword tip. Under the swing of Lin Yuan's sword tip, the 28 dark crows, which were attached with the power of dark death, formed an orderly line and attacked Anha. And he was stunned by Lin Yuan's fighting style. He did not expect Lin Yuan to not summon any more phase after activating the sacred source lifeform. Instead, he used the sacred source lifeform's ability to attack and he. However, and he only froze for a moment before regaining his wits. And he had keenly sensed a trace of dark element world power from the dark crows flying out of Lin Yuan's sword tip. This dark element world power caused an He's expression to change drastically. And he did not expect Lin Yuan to be so powerful at such a young age. When an He first heard from his master that the Moon Empress disciple had defeated Zhongzhe and become the champion of both the civil and martial arena, and he did not take it seriously. And he had asked his master about the Moon Empress disciple's age, and knew that Lin Yuan was only 17 or 18 years old. The strength of the Moon Empress disciple was roughly the same, and it was never the phase quality or grade that stopped the Moon Empress disciple. To the Moon Empress disciple, the phase grade and quality were often the limit that they could withstand. What really stopped the Moon Empress disciple was the Spirit Chi Professional's grade. The increase in a Spirit Chi Professional's grade had a lot to do with age. The 17 or 18-year-old Lin Yuan and the 23 or 24-year-old Zhongzhe were at least one grade apart in terms of grade. Even if Lin Yuan used the Starlight Jitan's pollen, there were other ways to break through the grade 1 phase limit. As a C-rank Spirit Chi professional, he possessed a diamond/fantasy breed Fey. It could not erase the huge gap in spiritual power between a C-rank Spirit Chi professional and a pinnacle B-rank Spirit Chi professional. Previously, and he had thought that the Moon Empress disciple would become the champion of both the civil and martial arena, and that the Moon Empress had informed Chef Supreme in advance. In order for Lin Yuan to successfully obtain the prize of both the civil and martial arena, the Radiant Medal. After all, His Holiness's disciple had to fight for the position of Radiant's envoy. Otherwise, it would be no different from being a salted fish. But now Ankh admitted that he was wrong. He could unleash an attack that contained the aura of the world, even if it only contained the aura of the world power. Without the actual power of the world, it was enough to contend against Zhongzhe. He might even be able to defeat Zhongzhe with this attack. and he hurriedly shouted, "Mountain suppressing Kuei, cast mountains roar. Feet of the earth vein. Dry land solidification and exclusive skill forbidden fruit of earth. Then, use the mountain range defense skill and sacrifice the mountains to stop these crows." After instructing the mountain suppressing Kuei, and he shouted at the awakening hibernation drake that had already crawled out of the purple cocoon. "Nightmare drake, use water and earth transformation. Try your best to convert the water element in the sea into earth element. Then, I'll create the image of awakening hibernation and use the stone repelling body skill on the mountains summoned by Yu Kuei." And he had already displayed the strongest defense that he could achieve by relying on the mountain suppressing Kuei and the awakening hibernation drake. As the mountain suppressing Kuei leaped onto the island and let out a roar, nearly 70 towering mountains surged out of the entire island. The formation of these mountains completely destroyed the island's terrain. There was not even a place to land on the entire island. Lu Jie, the mother of Bloodbath, Yindai, Zhang Qing, Sun Jiang, and the other spectators had a place to watch the battle after the elder behind and he shattered a mountain. These towering mountains could not stop the 28 dark crows that Lin Yuan controlled. The dark crows could easily pass through the gaps between the mountains. However, after checking the mountain suppressing Kuei and the awakening hibernation drake's true data, Lin Yuan knew that these mountains were the mountain suppressing Kuei's defense. Lin Yuan ordered the 28 dark crows to attack each of the mountains. The 2,000-meter tall mountains were like paper in the face of the dark crows that were smaller than a palm. After each dark crow completely shattered the entire mountain, it would fly to the next mountain. And he did not panic at all, but his brows were tightly knitted. And his heart was filled with deep confusion. Just now, and he had ordered the mountain-suppressing Kuei to use the mountain's roar, but no mountains had risen from the sea. At that time, and he had thought that the sea was too deep, and the mountain-suppressing Kuei had not used his full strength. However, the mountain-suppressing Kuei had clearly used his full strength, so why were there still no mountains emerging from the bottom of the sea? This is really King strange. The mountain-suppressing Kuei could not display his strength to the greatest extent by relying on the earth elements on this island. In fact, when he had just landed on this island, Lu Jie had already given the Insect Queen 2 orders. He had ordered the Insect Queen to control the reef lice to use the calcium hardening and aura isolation to reinforce the bottom of the sea. Otherwise, the earth elements at the bottom of the sea might really be attracted by the mountain-suppressing Kuei and summon thousands of mountains in the sea. Under the effect of the earth vein transformation, the activity of the earth elements contained in the entire island had suddenly doubled. The mountain-suppressing Kuei, which originally only had 1 foot, had grown a foot that was completely condensed by the earth elements. The mountain-suppressing Kuei ran with both feet and headed straight for the forbidden fruit of earth that had condensed on the ground not far away. Seeing that the mountain-suppressing Kuei had swallowed the forbidden fruit that had condensed on the ground, and he shouted at the mountain-suppressing Kuei again. Mountain-suppressing Kuei continuously used the mountain's roar. Following in his order, the mountains on the island surged out like gophers. The mountains that had appeared earlier had not been shattered by the dark crow's attack. The new mountains had already pushed up the old mountains. The moment these mountains were pushed up, they blossomed with a thick earthy yellow light. Finally, these mountains turned into phantom images and stacked on the mountain-suppressing Kuei's body. Even though the mountain-suppressing Kuei had nearly 100 layers of mountains on his body, he was still diligently summoning the mountains. More illusions of the mountains stacked on top of his body to increase his defense. At the same time, more mountains were attacking Lin Yuan, who was holding the sacred sword. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan immediately used Blackie's exclusive skill, Spirit Chi Burst. He raised his hand and blasted the mountains that had risen up from the ground under his feet and in front of him. Blackie was now Diamond Eye/Fantasy Eye. Given Blackie's strength, even if the mountain-suppressing Kuei was just an ordinary Fey, Blackie would not be able to defeat it. Blackie would definitely not be able to defeat it. Moreover, the mountain-suppressing Kuei was a fae with the bloodline of desolation. However, the power of the exclusive skill, Spirit Chi Burst, did not depend entirely on Blackie's strength. It also depended on the purity of the Spirit Chi used. ABC. Chapter 1308. The higher the purity of the Spirit Chi, the stronger the attack power of the Spirit Essence Burst. The purity of Lin Yuan's Spirit Chi was higher than that of a Class 5 Creation Master. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that it was the purest man-made Spirit Chi in the world. The extremely pure Spirit Chi gathered at one point and burst out with power, allowing Lin Yuan to shatter the mountains beneath his feet and in front of him. Facing the mountains around him, Lin Yuan repeatedly swung his right fist. Under Lin Yuan's right fist, not a single mountain that rose from the ground could pose a problem to him. Just as Lin Yuan was swinging his right fist to shatter the mountains, he suddenly felt a huge repulsive force coming from the mountains in front of him. This repulsive force prevented Lin Yuan from continuing to smash his right fist on the mountains. However, the repulsive force coming from the mountains didn't trouble Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan only needed to lift his leg and kick up a piece of rock. He would first use the Spirit Essence Burst to bombard the rock. With the rock as the node, he would use the Spirit Essence Burst's power to counteract the mountain's repulsive force. Then, he would use his right fist to smash the mountain. Given Lin Yuan's skills, these were just small tricks that could be easily done. The island's earth elements had entered an extremely active state. As the waking hibernating drake turned the water elements into earth elements, the island's surface area had a slight tendency to expand. At this moment, 28 dark crows had already flown in front of the mountain suppression drake. They circled around and attacked the mountain suppression drake. Every dark crow's attack could shatter dozens of mountain phantoms around Yu Kuei's body, and add a withered mark to the outermost mountain phantoms. Each withered mark would be accompanied by the disappearance of a dark crow. At the same time, these withered marks wouldn't disappear when the mountain shadows were destroyed by the dark crows. Instead, they would automatically attach to the next layer of the mountain shadows. As the 14 dark crows disappeared, the withered effect that could only be produced by gathering all 14 withered marks was triggered. The withered effect immediately caused the layers of mountain shadows around the mountain suppression drake to wither. The withered mountain shadows were like the sorrowful wails of the earth, splashing up a decaying mist. Anha was alarmed and quickly commanded the waking hibernating drake to ride the split waking hibernating statue in front of the remaining 14 dark crows. At the same time, he urged the nightmare dragon to use its skill, hibernation change, to use the raven's attacks to replenish the nightmare dragon's HP. At the same time, and he also got the waking hibernation nightmare dragon to use its exclusive skill, body of earth attraction, to release the strongest repulsive force. He then ordered the nightmare hibernation drake to activate dragon body liberation, gathering all the energy in its body onto its horn. He was prepared to use all his strength to attack the remaining dark crows after the awakening statue was destroyed by the dark crows. Apparently, Ankh was ready to abandon the awakening drake. He used the waking drake as a shield to block the dark crow's attack for Yu Kuei. And his approach was right. After all, the Diamond X/Fantasy Vision, Yu Kuei's comprehensive strength, was much stronger than the Diamond X/Fantasy Fortune Yu Kuei. Although the awakening hibernation nightmare dragon was better at attacking than Zhen Yu Kuei's skill, Mountain Ripper combined with Mountain Ripper 9 shocks, was not any weaker than the awakening hibernation nightmare dragon's attack. However, and he had obviously underestimated the power of the remaining 14 dark crows. A dark crow rammed into the awakening hibernation image, directly shattering a small part of the awakening hibernation image. However, the waking hibernating drake behind the waking hibernating statue was fully executing its exclusive skill, Earth Attraction Body. A massive repulsive force exploded with the waking hibernating drake as the origin, pushing everything in the opposite direction of the waking hibernating drake. The powerful repulsive force even compacted the island's soil by close to 3 meters. This massive repulsive force undoubtedly affected the remaining 13 dark crows. However, after paying the price of 3 dark crows, the waking hibernating statue was completely destroyed. The remaining 10 dark crows attacked the waking hibernating drake's main body. Upon seeing this, the waking hibernating drake didn't immediately unleash dragon body liberation and the attack condensed on its horn. Instead, it used the awakening hibernating statue's life force to attack the remaining dark crows. When 4 dark crows rammed into the waking hibernating drake's body, the waking hibernating drake unleashed dragon body liberation. The terrifying white light collided with the 5 dark crows and produced a violent explosion. In the end, the severely injured waking hibernating drake fell from the sky and onto the ground that it had been suppressing. From the smoke produced by the explosion, 3 dark crows drilled out. Under normal circumstances, these 3 dark crows should have been attacking the waking hibernating drake. However, since Lin Yuan and he were just sparring, there was no need to harm the other party's fae. The dark crows were all under Lin Yuan's control, so he left the waking hibernating drake with one breath. Seeing that there were still 3 dark crows, and he quickly raised his hand and summoned a nearly 20-meter-long, 10-meter-tall earthen yellow lizard. This earthen yellow lizard's back was covered with a thick layer of crystal-like armor. It was obvious that the new fae that he had summoned had an extremely powerful defense. However, after he summoned this lizard, he didn't have the time to issue any instructions to it. He could only let this lizard use its body to block the 3 dark crows that were attacking the mountain-suppressing drake. Lin Yuan took a deep breath. After executing a few punches with the spirit pure burst, he was only left with half of the spirit chi in his body. As a C-rank spirit chi professional, he didn't have enough spirit chi to fight with a B-rank spirit chi professional. Lin Yuan silently used Blackie's spirit injection on himself. Then, he raised his right fist and sprinted toward the mountain-suppressing drake. The 3 dark crows blasted on the lizard fae that he had just summoned. Just 2 dark crows were enough to severely injure the giant lizard. Just as the lizard was facing 2 dark crows and the 3rd dark crow was about to crash into the lizard, the 3rd dark crow changed its direction and went past the giant lizard, crashing toward he. Upon seeing the situation, he had no choice but to order the mountain-suppressing drake to block in front of him. At that moment, Lin Yuan, who was close to the lizard, leaped and smashed his right fist on the back of the heavily injured giant lizard. Subsequently, Lin Yuan used the giant lizard's back as a node and leaped high, injecting most of the spirit chi in his body into his right fist. He swung his right fist again and smashed at the mountain-suppressing drake, which was defending the last dark crow with all its strength. After that punch, Lin Yuan's strength was released and he landed behind he. The moment he landed, Lin Yuan's left elbow neatly hit he's temple. The gale from the elbow blew up the hair on he's forehead, causing him to break out in cold sweat. He's newly summoned giant lizard fae fell to the ground after getting punched by Lin Yuan. Although the mountain-suppressing drake was not lightly beaten by Lin Yuan's punch, it was far from serious injuries. What really injured the mountain-suppressing drake was the last dark crow's attack. However, the mountain-suppressing drake still had the strength to fight, but he had already lost this battle. He's life was now tied to Lin Yuan's elbow. Tomorrow is a big scene. I hope the mother of Bloodbath can pull through. Small preview. I immediately went home after work and stayed up all night writing until now. My chest is stuffy. Requesting recommendation tickets, monthly trouble. Button is too busy at the end of the year. Please forgive me. End of this chapter. Chapter 1309. And he, who had suddenly regained his senses, felt that Lin Yuan's entire body was filled with the word evil. And he, who had fought with so many spirit chi professionals, had never seen a spirit chi professional like Lin Yuan's fighting style. Lin Yuan looked like a berserk humanoid fae. The outcome was decided. And he flipped his hand, grabbed the rainbow ball of light, and threw it at Lin Yuan. He then said with a complicated expression, "You win this time. You win this time, but if you use a sacred source life form, you won't necessarily win." Lin Yuan raised his eyebrows and caught the sacred source life form that and he tossed over with a chuckle. He chuckled and said, "Unless you can block the power of the world again, you will still lose if you use the sacred source life form." With that, Lin Yuan walked toward Lu Jie, the killer butterfly, and the mother of bloodbath with the sacred source life form. After thinking for a while, Lin Yuan threw the sacred source life form to the killer butterfly. The killer butterfly was stunned by Lin Yuan's action. However, it did not exchange any pleasantries with Lin Yuan. It happily accepted the sacred source life form. The killer butterfly felt as though it had married a rich second-generation heir. More importantly, this rich second-generation heir's looks were off the charts. It could not get enough of him. More importantly, this rich second-generation heir's father treats me even better. How embarrassing! Lu Jie and the mother of bloodbath were used to Lin Yuan's generosity in distributing sacred source life forms to the people in the manor. However, this scene almost made Indai's eyeballs pop out of their socket. Indai was greedy. How could an insect species Fey that had just become a creation breed obtain a sacred source life form? How could she deserve it? I am the mighty sea monarch. Why haven't I found a single sacred source life form to contract after becoming an immortal for such a long time? Envious and jealous, Indai frantically swung the fins on her horn and slapped the ground with her fishtail, constantly venting the jealousy in her heart. The elder, Sun Jiang, and Zhang Cheng looked at Lin Yuan with solemn eyes. The three people's solemn eyes were filled with disbelief. This was not the first time Sun Jiang had seen Lin Yuan fight with someone. However, when he saw Sun Jiang again, he was still amazed by Lin Yuan's peculiar attack method. Sun Jiang also realized that the 28 crows that Lin Yuan had conjured with the sacred source life form were much stronger than when he had dueled with Zhong Zhe in the civil and martial arenas. Turned out that this amazing young man had made such great progress in just a little more than a month. What a heaven-gifted genius! Sun Jiang wasn't the only one who noticed that his raven's withering strike had become stronger. As a holy sword wielder, Lin Yuan naturally noticed this as well. He had yet to use Morbius' exclusive skill, Pure Land of Bliss, to absorb the golden bead condensed by the creation Earth vein. Recently, Lin Yuan had not let the princess use source power to enhance the Dark Death world. However, the Dark Crow Withering Strike's attack power had increased. The only change from a month ago was that the princess had increased her star level from 2 stars to 3 stars. It seemed that as Princess's star increased, the damage of her Holy Sword mode sword skills would also become stronger. Moreover, the increase was not small. During the fight with Zhong Zhe, the Dark Crow Withering Strike's power was equivalent to the full power attack of a Pinnacle Myth 2 Fey. Now, the Dark Crow Withering Strike's power had obviously entered the early stages of Myth 3. And his face flushed when he heard Lin Yuan's words. If not for the awakening hibernation drake, the suppressing mountain kuei and the flowing earth drill lizard would have suffered serious injuries. And he really wanted to fight with Lin Yuan again to see who was bragging. That attack of yours was clearly your trump card. I don't believe that you can unleash another attack of such power. At that moment, the elder was behind and he. Seeing in his expression, the elder gently patted and his shoulder to comfort him. And he glanced at the old man beside him, then at Lin Yuan, who was tossing the sacred source life form he had just given to the others, and snorted coldly. He snorted and said, "Grandpa Gu, help me assess the island's losses. We will compensate them on the spot and play with them. We will leave immediately." An awkward expression appeared on the elder's face. You and Lin Yuan fought on this island, and it has completely become a deserted island. Even if there were star web streamers who came to this island to film for survival, they would likely starve to death on the island. Thinking about what the island had been like when they had first arrived, the elder felt that it would be better for he to compensate with an island. However, looking at he's expression, the elder did not say anything in the end. As he's path protector, the elder could not leave he's side when Dai, the Sea Empress, was present. Therefore, the elder waved his hand, and 2 lambs, which were obviously in camouflage, appeared beside the elder. After the old man instructed the 2 lambs ran in 2 different directions of the island. He assessed the island's losses. And his eyes abruptly turned cold when he saw Dai looking at him with a gloating expression on her face. The elder behind he also looked at Dai with an unfriendly expression, but Dai did not care. Dai turned to the 2 sea kings beside her and said, "The 2 of you don't have to be so nervous." Dai turned to speak to the 2 sea kings beside her. His Majesty's disciple represents His Majesty's face. He can't go back on his word after losing the duel. When the 2 sea kings heard Dai's words, they knew that Dai's words were not meant for them. Instead, he said it to Anha. Therefore, the 2 sea kings immediately chimed in and cooperated with Dai to continue the conversation. Hearing Dai's words, he was infuriated, but he had no good words to refute her. In the end, he snorted coldly and shouted at Dai. "You have to pay for the losses on this island. What are you so proud of?" Hearing this, Dai looked at he arrogantly and said, "It's just the resources of an island. This emperor can easily lose them. It's not a big deal at all. This emperor is waiting for the collaboration with the Moon Empress disciple." When he heard Dai's words, he was so angry that his liver almost exploded. And he was a sensible man. Since he couldn't beat Dai with words, and he had also lost the bet, it wouldn't be good for him to attack Dai. And he simply ignored Dai. Lin Yuan thought to himself as he looked at the happy face of the predator butterfly. I wonder if the sacred source lifeform that the predator butterfly obtained is suitable for the predator butterfly. After exploring the swamp world, Lin Yuan thoroughly understood how sacred source lifeforms came about. In fact, compared to casually giving the predator butterfly a sacred source lifeform, perhaps hunting a totem for the heaven-slaughtering butterfly that was compatible with the world of laws the heaven-slaughtering butterfly grasped would be even more compatible. However, it was not easy to hunt an apostle with medium or weak power of faith and a sacred source body in a dimensional world. Apostles had a variety of abilities. Even if he encountered hundreds of apostles, none of them would be suitable for the predator butterfly. ABC. Chapter 13:10. Moreover, it was not good to keep dragging the slaughter butterfly's sacred source lifeform. Among the 3 Emperor-class experts in Sky City, the mother of Bloodbath and Endless Summer had obtained sacred source lifeforms. Since the slaughter butterfly had not, it was inevitable that he would overthink. However, in Lin Yuan's future selection of sacred source lifeforms, especially when it came to choosing a second sacred source lifeform for himself, Lin Yuan would definitely search for an existence that was compatible with him in the swamp world before carrying out the contract. Morbius had once again fallen into a deep slumber because of that strange plant seed. Lin Yuan now knew that Princess was an existence formed by the fusion of 2 sacred source lifeforms. He wondered if Morbius would be able to fuse the 2 sacred source lifeforms again after it woke up. Suddenly, a majestic vitality and water element aura surged from the bottom of the sea toward the surface. A total of 13 whale cries rang out solemnly. Upon hearing these 13 whale cries, Lin Yuan's eyes lit up. These whale cries were unique to the island whale embryos when they were formed. The whale cries were the strongest when the island whale embryos were just formed. Every few hours, the island whale embryos would let out another cry. This was also why human spirit chi professionals could find the island whale embryos when exploring the distant sea. If not for this characteristic of the island whale embryos, it would be like searching for a needle in a haystack in the vast sea. Perhaps the island whale's valuation would be more than 10 times higher than the current valuation. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan took out a gold-green oxygen sea anemone and prepared to go into the sea to personally see the situation of this large-scale whale fall. Upon seeing that Lin Yuan was about to go into the sea, the mother of Bloodbath suddenly recalled what had happened outside Indigo Azure City. Lin Yuan had gone into the sea alone and encountered danger in the sea. The mother of Bloodbath's expression changed, and it hurriedly reached out to stop Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan, I'll go into the sea first to see the situation. You can go in after. I'm sure there's no danger in the sea. Indai, who was walking toward Lin Yuan, hurriedly replied when she heard the mother of Bloodbath's words. This sea region is in the Radiance Continent's territory. Due to the influence of the Radiance Sea Treaty, ordinary marine species will be exceptionally careful in this sea region. In addition, my territory is 200 nautical miles away, so there can't be any danger in this sea region. You can go down directly. I will also go down with you to see if I can be of any help. Upon hearing that, the mother of Bloodbath ignored Indai and stubbornly flew in the direction of the whale's cry. Just as the mother of Bloodbath hovered above the surface of the sea and was about to plunge to the bottom of the sea, a sudden change occurred. A long black thorn suddenly shot out from the surface of the sea. The black spike was so fast that it did not give the mother of Bloodbath any chance to react. The black spike pierced through the mother of Bloodbath. This black thorn had the ability to pierce through the mother of Bloodbath's body, but it stopped abruptly inside. Then, the black thorn bloomed like an iron tree. Thousands of spikes appeared and directly pierced the mother of Bloodbath's body from the inside out into a broken sieve. It made the mother of Bloodbath look like a hedgehog that had curled up into a ball. This happened too suddenly. The Void Shadow Demon didn't even have time to react. Even the old man behind and he couldn't react. By the time the flame-stepping smoke beast reacted, the black thorn had already pierced into the mother of Bloodbath's body. Lin Yuan's eyes turned red as he looked at the mother of Bloodbath. The old man glanced at and then gritted his teeth as he commanded the flame-stepping smoke beast to bring the mother of Bloodbath back to the island. The moment the flame-stepping smoke beast came into contact with the mother of Bloodbath's body, two black thorns shot out from the sea that had turned dark red at some point. The flame-stepping smoke beast's strength had reached the peak of immortal, unlike the mother of Bloodbath, which was only a myth-breed fae. Coupled with the unforeseen event that had just happened, the flame-stepping smoke beast, which had arrived above the sea region, was extremely focused. Thus, the moment the two thorns shot over, the flame-stepping smoke beast stepped lightly with its feet. The green flames under its feet attacked the two black thorns. When the flame-stepping smoke beast brought the mother of Bloodbath back to the island, the two green flames that were entangled with the black thorns had already been extinguished. But after the green flames were extinguished, the black thorns that had been burned by the green flames didn't disappear. There was still a small portion of them lingering above the sea region. The flame-stepping smoke beast carefully placed the mother of Bloodbath on the island and then spoke to the old man in a serious tone. Old Gu, the fae that shot out the black thorns is stronger than me. The flame-stepping smoke beast had just finished speaking when a woman in a dark red robe appeared above the sea. After the woman appeared above the sea, she flung her dark red robe. A pair of slender and powerful long legs were revealed under the robe. The shoes that the woman was stepping on had a high bulge that looked like a shark's tail. However, the bulge was much sharper than the tip of a shark's tail. The woman stared at everyone on the island, and her gaze lingered on the old man and the flame-stepping smoke beast for a while. Then, the woman stretched lazily and casually tossed a black thorn in her hand. Her face was filled with a playful expression as if she was facing her prey. Behind the woman stood a total of 7 sea kings, and they all had an aura similar to the woman in the dark red robe. It was obvious that these 7 sea kings should be related to this woman in the dark red robe. When Indai saw the black thorns being shot out, her entire back was drenched in cold sweat. Indai couldn't be more familiar with these black thorns, as she had escaped death many times before. Indai's eyes were filled with fear as she shouted angrily. Mermaid Edge, why are you here? Why are you here? The woman in the dark red robe, who was called Mermaid Edge, didn't even look at Indai, and her tone was full of indifference. Of course, I'm here to kill you. You're just a Silver Sash race member that has just reached adulthood. How can you enjoy the gift of this large-scale whale fall? Don't think that I didn't notice when you spent so much effort to lure the 3 old whales that were migrating in my sea region. I didn't expect that after you were almost killed by me at the Class 5 Water World Dimensional Rift, you had mixed with humans. These humans are really unlucky. It'll be hard for them not to die after getting attached to you. When Indai heard that, it was no longer as simple as cold sweat seeping out of her body. Indai's heart chilled, and she knew that Mermaid Edge really wanted to kill her. Previously, Mermaid Edge definitely hadn't killed her because she had already planned to take over this large-scale whale fall before making a move on her. She looked at everyone on the island, especially in He, who had a grave expression, and Lin Yuan, who was crouching in front of the Mother of Bloodbath with bloodshot eyes. There was also Lu Jie, who was wearing the Spirit Guard's standard mask and whose face couldn't be seen clearly, but his body was surging with grief, anger, and killing intent. Indai planned to borrow the power of these 3 disciples to see if she could scare off Mermaid Edge. ABC. Chapter 13:11. As long as the mermaid was scared off, Indai decided to immediately flee to the ends of the world with her 2 sea kings. As long as she wanted to hide in the vast ocean, Sharkshine might not be able to find her. Thus, Indai shouted sternly, "Do you know who you are attacking? Do you want to tear up the Huihai Treaty and cause a war between the Radiants and the Sea Race?" Upon hearing that, the dark red-robed woman looked at Indai contemptuously and said, "The royal race has become the weakest of the 5 lower races. In the end, the royal clan has become the weakest of the 5 lower clans. Even their eyesight has become shallow. My sea race covers the entire main world, and 30% of the land is shared by humans and symbiotic phase. 70% of the ocean is exclusively enjoyed by the sea race. The resources on the land are of no use to my sea race. The Huihai Treaty was signed because the sea race didn't want to cause unnecessary trouble. As long as I, Sharkshine, have the ability to make everyone stay here and not let the news spread. Who else knows that I, Sharkshine, did this? The Radiance faction should look into you, the stinky fish that is closest to this territory and this sea region. If you die and disappear in the sea region, the Radiance faction will naturally think that you fled in fear of punishment. By then, the royal race will be pushed to pay the price for breaking the Huihai Treaty." Upon hearing that, Indai took a deep breath. She didn't expect that Sharkshine was not only scheming against her but also the royal race behind her. If not for Lin Yuan, and he and the others would have come to this island to compete with her for the resources of the large whale fall. Perhaps when the island whale embryo had just formed and she was about to check it out, she would have been locked on by the black spike. By then, the black spikes would not have pierced the myth-breed Fae beside the Moon Empress disciple but herself. However, Indai had just become an adult and didn't want to die. She thought of He, Lin Yuan, and Lu Jie's identities and looked at the old man behind He. Indai summoned her courage and shouted loudly, "Sharkshine, you are only at level 8 immortal. The human old man's Fae beside me is already at peak immortal, and its quality is higher than yours. Even if it can fight above its rank in the sea region, it has an advantage over this old man. But if this old man wants to run, you won't be able to stop him. At that time, the Radiance faction will know that all of this was done by you, Mermaid Mang. Even if I die, you won't be able to frame me." Hearing this, the disdain and mockery in Mermaid Mang's eyes became even stronger. "Indai, do you think I'm as stupid as you? Unfortunately, I just reached the 9th level of the immortal realm not long ago. Body like glass, immortal body completion." After it finished speaking, a few dark red tentacle-like aquatic plants suddenly shot out from the mermaid's palm. The mermaid flipped its hand, and the seaweed that gushed out of its palm fell into the blood-red seawater. At the moment the seaweed fell into the water, the aura of the Ocean Emperor at the peak of Immortal Realm burst out. Shark Ray said softly, "Weave and sip, scarlet tentacle." Under the soft cry of the Shark Ray, red seaweed that was nearly 10,000 meters tall suddenly grew in the sea. Like wriggling tentacles, the scarlet seaweed stretched out and intertwined with each other. Finally, it was sealed. These red seaweeds seemed to have turned the sea into a dark red theater. The surging red waves were like an ode to the theater in the sea. It eulogized the drama of death that was about to unfold in the theater in the sea. The area covered by the red seaweed was like a forbidden area, and its aura was completely isolated from the outside world. The old man behind, and he had a grave expression. Against a peak Immortal Realm Ocean Emperor, even if he used all his strength to break through, he might not be able to send and he out unharmed from the hands of a peak Immortal Realm Ocean Emperor. Moreover, this peak Immortal Realm Ocean Emperor had taken the initiative to use his sacred source lifeform. The old man also had a sacred source lifeform. Therefore, even if the old man was not a creation master, with the senses of his 6-star sacred source lifeform, the old man could also use this to find out the Imperial Mermaid race's sacred source lifeform's star level. What troubled the old man was that, according to the aura of the sacred source lifeform, the aura of Shark Ray's scarlet tentacle was stronger than his own sacred source lifeform. This meant that if Shark Ray's scarlet tentacle wasn't a peak 6-star existence, it would be a 7-star existence. Shark Ray was stronger than him in the sea, and his sacred source lifeform's star level was higher than his. The current situation was too serious. Using brute force was definitely not going to work. The old man looked at Shark Ray, who had a playful expression, and said in a cold voice, "Look at you. You should be a member of the Imperial Mermaid race, one of the 8 Ocean Empire clans. You are considered an expert among the Imperial Mermaid race. Compared to the other ocean clans, you should know the truth about the Radiance Sea Treaty. What you just said is completely different from what the Imperial Mermaid race's patriarch said when they signed the Radiance Sea Treaty. The person in front of you is young Master He, His Holiness Eternal Lamp's disciple. If you step back now, I can pretend that nothing has happened." Shark Ray's expression changed, and he looked deeply at Indai. He did not understand why Indai was with His Holiness Radiance's disciple. Shark Ray frowned and muttered to himself, as if he was weighing the gains and losses in his heart. On the other side, the Void Shadow Demon had already left Lin Yuan's shadow. Lin Yuan, Lu Jie, the slaughtering sky butterfly, and the Void Shadow Demon surrounded the Mother of Bloodbath, whose body was covered in spikes. Their eyes were terrifyingly red. The moment the flame-stomp smoke beast brought the Mother of Bloodbath back to the island, Lin Yuan placed his hand on the Mother of Bloodbath's wrist. Lin Yuan circulated his spiritual power and used pure spirit qi to probe the Mother of Bloodbath's body. The more he probed, the more flustered he became. Lin Yuan found that the black spikes that had burst out of the Mother of Bloodbath's body had almost crushed the Mother of Bloodbath's body. As a creation master, Lin Yuan had seen too many Fays on the verge of death. However, he had never encountered such a serious injury like the Mother of Bloodbath's. It was not an exaggeration to say that the Mother of Bloodbath's body had completely turned into minced meat. It could be said that the Mother of Bloodbath was on the verge of death and was relying on its last breath to hold on. Lin Yuan crazily undid the vitality imprint on his forehead. The surging vitality from Lin Yuan's palm flowed freely along the Mother of Bloodbath's wrist and into its body. However, this large amount of vitality with the exclusive skill intermittent vitality did not improve the Mother of Bloodbath's physical condition. The Mother of Bloodbath's origin vitality was still rapidly depleting. However, the majestic vitality injected made the Mother of Bloodbath's numb body gain some strength. The Mother of Bloodbath tried to speak, but after trying for a long time, it found that it no longer had the strength to make a sound. The mother of Bloodbath took a deep look at Lin Yuan. Its eyes, which had always been cold, were now filled with softness and relief, as well as some loneliness and reluctance. End of this chapter. Chapter 13:12. In order to speak, the mother of Bloodbath shed its human form and turned into its original fey form. The mother of Bloodbath had the appearance of the red crystal spider with spiky hair when Lin Yuan had first met it. The mother of Bloodbath lifted its spider leg with difficulty and used all its strength to pull out a spike stuck in its throat. She spoke weakly with that strange yet pleasant voice that Lin Yuan was used to hearing. Lin Yuan, I finally feel like I'm your Dao protector now. The mother of Bloodbath's words caused Lin Yuan's red eyes to instantly become misty. In life, the most terrifying thing was the separation of family and friends. Especially people like Lin Yuan, who could create all kinds of resources and lead the younger generation. Lin Yuan did not know how many fays with damaged roots he had healed, but he found that the exclusive skill he had always relied on was so powerless with the mother of Bloodbath. Even though he had activated Life Imprint, a sense of powerlessness spread in Lin Yuan's heart. Is the mother of Bloodbath really going to leave me today? Leave the return from faraway mansion. Leave Sky City. Return to the netherworld? The mist in Lin Yuan's eyes began to condense into drops, and his eyes became a little dazed amidst the extreme sorrow. Suddenly, Lin Yuan thought of something, and his eyes flashed with a ray of hope. Lin Yuan hurriedly pulled out the Blood Brew grapevine from the diamond face storage box and said to the mother of Bloodbath anxiously, Mother of Bloodbath, your roots are damaged, and you urgently need blood energy to maintain them. Mother of Bloodbath, your origin has been damaged, and you urgently need blood energy to maintain it. The mother of Bloodbath glanced at the Diamond X/Legend Blood Brew grapevine in Lin Yuan's hand. The mother of Bloodbath glanced at the Diamond X/Legend Blood Brew grapevine in Lin Yuan's hand. Recalling the Platinum 3/Elite Blood Brew grapevine that Lin Yuan had traded for in the Indigo Azure Sea Market, the mother of Bloodbath knew how much Lin Yuan had sacrificed to nurture the Blood Brew grapevine. It also knew why Lin Yuan could give it a bunch of Blood Brew grape. The mother of Bloodbath looked at Lin Yuan, who was anxiously handing it the Blood Brew grapevine, and the corners of its lips curled up into a young smile. At that moment, the hazy feelings in the mother of Bloodbath's heart suddenly became clear. The mother of Bloodbath opened its mouth, but it ultimately did not say the feelings it had just learned. When feelings were first born, they didn't know what it felt like. But now that he understood, he also knew that some feelings could only be stopped between the lips and teeth, covered by time. The mother of Bloodbath knew that its current situation wasn't as simple as a damaged origin. Even if he absorbed the pure blood energy contained within the Blood Brew grapevine, it would be of no use. As a heaven and earth fae, the Blood Brew grapevine was about to reach fruition under Lin Yuan's hands. Since he was destined to die, there was no need for him to drag someone down with him. Seeing that the mother of Bloodbath was not absorbing the Blood Brew grapevine, Lin Yuan became anxious. Lin Yuan immediately took out all the spirit chi crystals he had and crushed them. As a huge amount of extremely pure spirit chi was injected into the mother of Bloodbath's body, the dying mother of Bloodbath felt its spirit shake. Lin Yuan lost control of his emotions and shouted at the mother of Bloodbath anxiously. Mother of Bloodbath, activating the Sky Corona Jade Spider bloodline is your only chance. I don't want you to die. I want you to live. The blood energy of all the Oceanids here will become the basis for your transformation into a Sky Corona Jade Spider. After saying that, Lin Yuan stood up. He looked straight at the pondering Shark Mang and said in a cold voice, I want you to die. I want you to die. As Lin Yuan stood up, the mother of Bloodbath looked at Lin Yuan's back with clear and gentle eyes. Lin Yuan's words, I don't want you to die. I want you to live, gave the mother of Bloodbath the conviction to live on no matter what. With such a huge amount of pure spirit chi entering its body, the mother of bloodbath decisively drew on this pure spirit chi. It went to touch the forbidden area that it had never dared to touch. This forbidden area was the Sky Corona Jade Spider bloodline that was hidden in the mother of bloodbath's body. Shark Mang was originally thinking about what to do next. Should he follow the original plan to kill everyone and then shift the blame to Indai and the Imperial Mermaid clan behind her? Or should he retreat on his own and act as if nothing had happened like the old man had said? Shark Mang was very afraid that after he retreated and returned to the territory, the Radiance clan's long lamp crown would come looking for trouble. The Radiance clan might even use the Radiance Sea Treaty to affect the Imperial Mermaid clan's position among the top 3 of the Ocean Imperial 8 clans. With this thought, Shark Mang's killing intent grew stronger. At that moment, Shark Mang's thoughts were already infinitely close to killing everyone present. Lin Yuan's words, "I want you to die," directly ignited Shark Mang's killing intent. Shark Mang, whose killing intent was already set off, was completely unbridled and did not take the people present seriously. Who cared if the people present were His Holiness Hui Yao's disciples? Looking at Lin Yuan's appearance, Shark Mang smacked its lips with a sinister expression. Then, it revealed a frivolous smile. "You think you can kill this emperor? Why don't you take a good look at yourself? Hee, but you are very lucky, kid. Just based on your appearance, I have decided not to kill you. In the future, just wait to be locked in the deep sea by me and play games with my tentacles day and night." While speaking, Shark Mang waved its hand behind it. The Sea Kings behind Shark Mang all raised the black spikes in their hands and were ready to shoot at everyone. Since Lin Yuan said, "I want you to die," Anha's path protector, Gu En, had a bad feeling. He knew that things were bad now. Gu En was ready to strike first and then summon his other pinnacle immortal Fae. Even if he sacrificed the lives of his 2 Faes to bring Lin Yuan and He out safely. Under normal circumstances, as Anha's path protector, Gu En only needed to take He away. If it was because of the identity of His Holiness's disciple, then Gu En should take He, Lin Yuan, and Lu Jia away. In fact, Gu En choosing to take one more person in this situation was equivalent to increasing the risk that he and he had to face. However, Gu En insisted on taking Lin Yuan and He together because he did not want Lin Yuan to die. It would make the Moon Empress and His Holiness Lamp's misunderstanding even deeper. In this case, His Holiness Lamp would really have no face to face the Moon Empress in the future. But before Gu En could summon his other pinnacle immortal Fae, Gu En saw Lin Yuan's entire aura change. 12 amber water columns gushed out from under Lin Yuan's feet, and these water columns zigzagged and intertwined around Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan's entire body suddenly turned into an elemental state. With a light fishtail and wave-like long hair, Lin Yuan at this time was like a purebred mermaid that had been extinct for thousands of years in the ocean legend. Just when Gu En was ready to find out why Lin Yuan had such a change, a mighty young man with white hair and white armor appeared in front of Lin Yuan. End of this chapter. Chapter 13:13. This wasn't the first time Bai Yan had seen Lin Yuan's elemental mermaid form. Back then, Bai Yan had seen Lin Yuan suddenly transform into an elemental mermaid. Coupled with the surging power of faith around Lin Yuan and the fact that he had turned his son, Bai Xian, into an apostle, Bai Yan was certain that Lin Yuan was a ruler. Later, Bai Yan received the ruler's treasure as a reward from Lin Yuan. The ruler's treasure allowed Bai Yan to understand how beneficial it was to be a ruler's subordinate. Bai Yan originally wanted to stay by Lin Yuan's side after becoming Lin Yuan's subordinate. But in the end, Lin Yuan let him take over that stinky scorpion's territory. During the time he took over the territory, Bai Yan worked tirelessly to increase his strength while doing his best to control the territory. He didn't want any powerful lifeforms to enter his territory and disturb Lin Yuan inside. For this, Bai Yan had personally killed a passing class 11-dimensional lifeform. Holding the ruler's treasure in his hand, Bai Yan could clearly feel the increase in his power of faith accumulation speed. Lin Yuan's treasure of ruler had increased Bai Yan's power of faith accumulation speed by 10%. This speed was something Bai Yan didn't even dare to dream of. If he could keep receiving Lin Yuan's ruler's treasure, he would be able to accumulate the power of faith that he had accumulated for 100 years in 90 years. It would take him 10 years less. With the ruler's treasure's support, Bai Yan felt that he would be able to upgrade his power of faith to high-low in less than 100 years. At that time, Bai Yan would be able to obtain a new power of faith. This power of faith was called Seed of Faith. When the Seed of Faith blossomed, Bai Yan would have the opportunity to break through the limits of an apostle and become a ruler. Having personally experienced the benefits of water of faith, Bai Yan was determined to follow Lin Yuan and curry favor with him. Bai Yan decided to do this not only because Lin Yuan didn't look down on his mutant swamp crocodile origin. More importantly, Bai Yan felt that only by following by Lin Yuan's side would he have the opportunity to obtain a good future. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to make it in the Swamp East Circle. However, after Bai Yan decided to curry favor with Lin Yuan, he never had a suitable opportunity. Not long ago, a strange person who had lost his life but was still alive because of a parasite found him. He said that Lin Yuan was looking for him and wanted him to wait at a specific location. Bai Yan knew that his chance to curry favor with Lin Yuan had arrived. This wasn't Bai Yan's first time seeing Lin Yuan's elemental mermaid form. However, when he saw Lin Yuan's elemental mermaid appearance, Bai Yan was still very amazed. However, when it sensed the surging power of faith around Lin Yuan and the coldness in his eyes, it could not help but sigh. Bai Yan's heart tightened. He knew that Lin Yuan was angry. After realizing this, Bai Yan flew into a rage, and the aura within his body surged out. He really didn't know who had the guts to anger the Sovereign Lord. Bai Yan knelt on one knee under Lin Yuan's fishtail. In the face of Lin Yuan's sovereign body, Bai Yan did not have the slightest dignity of an expert. Bai Yan said in an exceptionally respectful tone, "Bai Yan is here. My lord, please instruct me." In fact, as soon as Lin Yuan had transformed into an elemental mermaid, everyone had looked at him in surprise. What followed was a deep intoxication. This included the Mother of Bloodbath, which was trying its best to sort out the pure spirit chi in its body and use it to activate the Sky Corona Jade Spider bloodline. It was no wonder that Lin Yuan had never used the body of faith in the main world. Even Lu Jie and the Mother of Bloodbath had not seen it before. Apart from Bai Yan, the only one present who had seen Lin Yuan in this state was the slaughtering sky butterfly. Yin Dai's heart had already risen to her throat, and she was very afraid that Shark Mang would suddenly attack and kill her. However, when it saw Lin Yuan in the elemental mermaid state, Shark Mang panicked and suddenly recalled the legend that its mother had told it when it was young. It was said that in the bouncing tides under the deep ocean, there lived mermaids who used waves as their hair and water as their bodies. These mermaids had looks that could topple the four seas, and they had voices that could calm the four seas with their singing. However, Yin Dai, who had grown up and understood the nature of the deep ocean, knew that legends were ultimately just legends. There was no such existence in the deep ocean. Yin Dai had even specially asked her mother, who had told her stories, about this. In the end, her mother had only said that this was a legend of the sea. Lin Yuan's current appearance gave Yin Dai a feeling that the legend had shown into reality. Shark Mang's gaze became increasingly greedy as it looked at the transformed Lin Yuan, and the desire in its eyes became increasingly obvious. Before everyone could be surprised by Lin Yuan's transformation, Bai Yan's appearance shocked everyone, especially Gu En. He had 2 peak immortal spirit items. The moment Bai Yan appeared, Gu En keenly discovered that Bai Yan's strength was not inferior to his. If Lin Yuan had a peak immortal expert, plus his own 2 peak immortal phase, he would definitely have the ability to escape from Shark Mang within he, Lin Yuan, and Lu Jie, the three disciples of His Majesty. Dai and Shark Mang's expressions changed after Bai Yen appeared, but the changes in their expressions were completely opposite. Dai's face revealed an ecstatic expression. Shark Mang's expression became serious. If it was just an ordinary peak immortal Fae, Shark Mang would not have been so nervous. In the sea, it was not difficult for a Sea Emperor to kill 3 Earth immortal Faes of the same level. However, since Bai Yen appeared, Shark Mang found that its control over the sea was no longer absolute. Because the white-haired youth that Lin Yuan had summoned also had an instinctive control over the water. This meant that this white-haired youth was also an aquatic Fae. Shark Mang hurriedly covered its face with its hands, and then the water and blood dual energy exploded from Shark Mang's body. Shark Mang immediately activated the immortal body of the rank 9 immortal state. Shark Mang's body clearly had the characteristics of 9 Faes, and a huge shark shadow appeared behind his back. This shark's body was blood red, and its gills and fins were covered with black thorns. As the shark phantom moved, the entire sea region was activated. At this moment, any random wave in the sea could reach a height of 10 meters. The sea immediately carried out a monstrous tsunami. If it was not for Guan's defense, the entire island would have been crushed by the waves. Just as Shark Mang was about to make the first move, an extremely cold shout echoed. Bai Yen, go kill all the living beings in the sky above this island. After you kill this creature, bring its corpses to me. Before Bai Yen could respond, Lin Yuan had already completely opened the shrine between his 2 souls. Lin Yuan had completely opened the shrine between his 2 souls and mobilized all the power of faith in his body. ABC. Chapter 13-14. Lin Yuan realized that in just 2 days, his power of faith had increased by more than 3 times. He had benefited a lot from the blood oath battle between the Sea of Bliss and the Miao family in the Beast Creation Garden. He poured all of the power of faith into the water lingering around him. Lin Yuan deliberately asked Bai Lan to use the water to isolate the power of faith. A huge amount of power of faith was contained in the water, turning the meandering water into dark amber crystal pillars. 12 dark amber crystal pillars filled with the power of faith hit Bai Yen, who had just gotten up. A huge amount of power of faith was injected into Bai Yan's body, and he immediately felt the changes on his totem. At this moment, Bai Yen was indescribably shocked. Although Bai Yen had not personally met the ruler of all beings had once descended into the Myriad Palace in Marsh East. He had spread the ruler's power and glory. Through the information obtained from the apostles in Marsh East, Bai Yen also understood the ruler's power. He knew that the ruler could transform into the ruler's body and gave the apostles the ruler's treasure. However, Bai Yen had never heard that a ruler could directly increase the power of faith in an apostle. A thought flashed through Bai Yan's mind. However, this fleeting thought caused Bai Yan's heart to surge incessantly. Could it be that Lin Yuan was not just a Samsara realm ruler, but a level above the ruler? Thinking of this, Bai Yen did not dare to continue thinking. Bai Yen was not sure if his thoughts were correct. Perhaps as a ruler, Lin Yuan's ability to inject the power of faith into other apostles was just his talent. But no matter what, he had to stay by Lin Yuan's side. It was right to lick Lin Yuan until he was satisfied. Bai Yen took a deep breath and responded to Lin Yuan with a fanatical and respectful tone. As you command, my lord. After saying that, Bai Yen rose into the air. Looking at the Sea King's spikes behind the mermaid, Bai Yen did not even dodge. Facing these black spikes, Bai Yen shook his body and transformed into a giant white crocodile that was about 3,000 meters long. The moment these black spikes pierced his body, Bai Yan's body seemed to turn into soft white mud. The moment these black spikes pierced his body, Bai Yan's body seemed to turn into soft white mud. He devoured all these black spikes. Finally, Bai Yen swung his tail, and the dozen or so black spikes that had been devoured by Bai Yan's body all grew at the end of his tail. Bai Yen swung his tail and viciously lashed at the scarlet tentacle seaweed theater. Bai Yen swung his tail with all his strength, and a huge hole appeared on the theater wall made of scarlet tentacle algae. Mermaid Mang's expression changed when he saw the scarlet tentacle algae being injured. He definitely wouldn't give Bai Yen another chance to destroy the scarlet tentacle algae. His scarlet tentacle kelp was not a combat-type sacred source life form. It was not that tough. The first function of the scarlet tentacle algae was to isolate aura. The second function was to absorb all the recently dead lifeforms within its range into the scarlet tentacle algae. Finally, through the refinement of the scarlet tentacle algae, it was transmitted into the contestant's body, enhancing the contestant's strength. The mermaid's rapid ascension to immortal 9th stage was closely related to the sacred source lifeform, scarlet tentacle algae. The mermaid radiance enveloped this area of the sea for 2 reasons. Firstly, it was to prevent the news from getting out. Secondly, it wanted to borrow the energy within Gu En and Yin Dai's bodies to further enhance its own strength. Even if it couldn't break through to the immortal realm and achieve eternal realm, it would be good to strengthen its newly ascended immortal 9th stage quality. Shark Mang ordered the dozen sea kings behind him in a stern voice. All of you, activate the immortal body for me. Kill the people on this island for this emperor first. After giving the order to the sea kings behind him, Mermaid Mang charged at Bai Yen. As he charged, 3 black spikes shot out of Mermaid Mang's hands and turned into 3 black sharks. The 3 black sharks overlapped each other, and like 2 pairs of scissors, they fiercely slammed towards Bai Yen. He glanced at Gu En, who had just summoned a new peak immortal Fae, and was commanding 2 peak immortal Faes to fight. He also looked at the few sea kings who were helpless against the people on the island. Some were even injured by Gu En's Faes. Mermaid Mang's eyes flashed with ruthlessness and decisiveness. He was useless if he couldn't help. Since he couldn't help in battle, he might as well help in other ways. Mermaid Mang's movement toward Bai Yen slowed down, and its body stopped in midair. Mermaid Mang touched the dark red skin on its forehead. Then, it pierced the dark red skin with its fingernail and let the blood drip down its face. At this moment, Mermaid Mang chanted softly. As Mermaid Mang chanted, the dozen sea kings who were fighting with Gu En all stopped in midair. The sea kings all had a horrified look on their faces. Mermaid Mang didn't give these sea kings a chance to beg for mercy. Mermaid Mark, return. As Mermaid Mang shouted, the immortal body of these sea kings quickly contracted. In the end, the dozen sea kings who were executing the immortal body all turned into a meatball. These meatballs that were transformed by these sea kings were brewing and compressing all the power within these sea kings. In the end, these meatballs each spat out a blood sword that shot toward Mermaid Mang. As these blood swords entered its body, Mermaid Mang's aura suddenly rose. Feeling the change in its strength, Mermaid Mang laughed loudly. Previously I was only at Immortal Rank 9. Now that I'm at the pinnacle of Immortal Rank 9, who under the Eternal Realm can defeat me? Mermaid Mang's words made Gu En's expression suddenly change. However, Bai Yen, who had suffered 3 thorns and suffered minor injuries, had a completely disdainful expression on his face. Bitch, your smile is really unpleasant to hear. I took your 3 black thorns head-on without any defense, but the attack of these 3 black thorns isn't much. They didn't even pierce through my muscle layer. If this is all you have, why don't you obediently lie on the ground and let me crush you to death? After Mermaid Mang used some kind of ability or exclusive skill to end the sea kings beside him, Lin Yuan's brows furrowed tightly. Looking at the faint sunlight radiating from the Mother of Bloodbath's body, Lin Yuan knew that the Mother of Bloodbath had already triggered the Sky Corona Jade Spider bloodline hidden in its body. At this time, the Mother of Bloodbath urgently needed a huge amount of blood chi energy. Originally, Lin Yuan was already helpless with the Mother of Bloodbath's injuries. What made Lin Yuan suddenly think of a solution was the attributes of Mermaid Mang and the dozen sea kings behind him. As a member of the Imperial Mermaid Clan, one of the top 3 clans of the Sea Imperial 8 clans, Mermaid Mang's attributes were blood and water. The blood energy in blood-type phase was often more abundant than normal phase and could be absorbed more easily by phase of the same attribute. Therefore, Lin Yuan thought of using Mermaid Mang and the dozen Sea Kings behind him as a ladder to help the Mother of Bloodbath awaken the Sky Corona Jade Spider bloodline. ABC. Chapter 13-15. If it was a non-blood-type Fae, even if Lin Yuan asked Bai Yin to kill it, the Mother of Bloodbath could not absorb it at all. The blood energy of those Sea Kings was currently gathered in Shark Ray's body. The battle would constantly consume the blood energy in Shark Ray's body. This was undoubtedly bad news for the Mother of Bloodbath. It might even cause the Mother of Bloodbath to not be able to rely on Shark Ray's blood energy to fully awaken the Sky Corona Jade Spider bloodline. Thinking of this, Lin Yuan hurriedly shouted at Bai Yin. Bai Yin, finish this battle quickly. Use your strongest attack to finish her off. When Bai Yin heard Lin Yuan's command, his expression immediately turned solemn, and he no longer talked nonsense with Shark Ray. Bai Yan's 3,000-meter-long crocodile body shone with holy light, and the totem above his left eye spun rapidly and finally turned into a black hole. Bai Yin appeared in midair in his sacred source body state. Bai Yin, who was in his sacred origin body, did not immediately attack the Shark Ray. At that moment, Bai Yin was excitedly guiding the power of faith that Lin Yuan had injected into his body. A large amount of power of faith gathered in the black hole above Bai Yan's left eye. Immediately after, an object that was beating like a heart appeared in the black hole above Bai Yan's left eye. At that moment, Bai Yan's aura, which was originally competing with Shark Ray, suddenly rose. A large amount of cloud chi gathered around Bai Yin, and the cloud chi constantly turned into a huge, ferocious crocodile head phantom. It was as if it wanted to devour everything in the world into its stomach. After sensing Bai Yan's aura, Shark Ray's expression turned extremely ugly. Bai Yan's aura made Shark Ray feel an indescribable pressure. It even gave Shark Ray the thought of immediately retreating. However, Shark Ray had a reason to retreat at that moment. After all, there was a disciple of Her Majesty here. If he retreated now, everything he had done would definitely spread throughout the Radiance sect. He had launched an attack in the Radiance sect's territorial waters, and his goal was to seize a large whale fall. If this matter spread, it would be seen as him unilaterally tearing up the Radiance Sea Treaty. That bitch Indai was still alive. Indai might have been ostracized by the Sea Emperor clan, and the Sea Emperor clan had declined. However, Indai was a member of the Sea Emperor 8 clans, and she was recognized by all the Sea clans as the Sea Emperor. If Indai could testify against him, the Radiance sect would definitely attack the Sea race. At that time, even if he ran away, the Imperial Mermaids and Mermaids clan would have to take the blame for him. The sea region was only so big, and there were only so many resources. Everywhere was full of competition. The sea region had never been peaceful. The upper 3 races were always fighting more intensely than the lower 5 races. The Imperial Mermaid clan was currently ranked second among the top 3 clans, closely followed by the Imperial Skate clan. The Imperial Mermaids and Mermaids had to take full responsibility for the Radiance sect's actions. The Imperial Skate clan might use this as an excuse to attack the Imperial Mermaids and Mermaids during the God of the Sea Assembly. He wanted to pull the Imperial Mermaids and Mermaids from the 2nd place to the 3rd place, so that the Imperial Mermaids and Mermaids could take the 2nd place. The ranking of the 8 clans of the Ocean Empire was directly related to the distribution of the ocean's resources. If so, he would become a sinner of the Imperial Mermaids and Mermaids clan. As the younger sister of the leader of the Imperial Mermaids and Mermaids clan, she was the eldest princess of the Imperial Mermaids and Mermaids clan. Shark Mang was truly afraid that he would turn from a respected being of the Imperial Mermaids and Merman clan into a rat on the street. In addition, the sacred source lifeform, the scarlet tentacle algae, had already been built. The scarlet tentacle algae would need some time to build the scarlet tentacle algae, and it would also take time to retrieve it. If he ran away, the scarlet tentacle algae was destined to be abandoned here. Be it phase or spirit chi professionals, sacred source lifeforms were the most precious existences. Shark Mang was unwilling to leave its sacred source lifeform, the scarlet tentacle algae, here. Shark Mang revealed a crazed expression as it felt the pressure. Shark Mang immediately used its strongest killing move. A dark red color condensed in Shark Mang's mouth, and it spat out a dark red giant shark. The giant shark carried the blood sea's aura and braved the wind and waves as it slammed toward Bai Yen. Looking at the blood-red giant shark ray, which was spitting at him, Bai Yen shouted, "I've been waiting for you to make the first move." Bai Yen didn't try to dodge. He stood in place as the blood-red shark approached. Bai Yen extended his hand towards the giant red shark ray that was shooting towards him, and directly stuffed the entire giant red shark ray into his mouth. The moment he swallowed the giant shark, Bai Yan's body exuded a layer of blood mist. Slowly, blood flowed out of Bai Yan's orifices. It was obvious that Bai Yan had suffered serious injuries in order to swallow Shark Mang's attack. Under Shark Mang's flabbergasted gaze, Bai Yan suddenly opened his mouth. A red and white beam of light shot out from Bai Yan's mouth and blasted at Shark Mang. No matter how Shark Mang dodged, the beam of light landed firmly on Shark Mang's body as though it had a navigation system. Bai Yan's sacred source body's ability was repeat. In order to unleash the power of repeat, he had to swallow the opponent's attack. Only then could he fuse his attack with the opponent's attack and return it to the opponent. With the opponent's attack as a guide, Bai Yan's attack had a navigation ability for a short period of time. Under normal circumstances, Bai Yan would not easily swallow an opponent's attack like Shark Mang, which was about the same strength as him. It would be easy for him to be injured. However, since Lin Yuan had ordered for a quick battle, Bai Yan could not care so much anymore. Shark Mang, which was hit by Bai Yan's attack, spat out blood and fell to the ground. At this moment, Shark Mang was seriously injured, but he did not die. As a peak immortal ocean emperor, Shark Mang would not die so easily. The instant Shark Mang fell to the island, Bai Yan had already flashed to Shark Mang's side. As an apostle, surviving in the dangerous swamp world had always been a matter of life and death. Therefore, when facing enemies, Bai Yan had never cared about martial ethic. Bai Yan had always adhered to the principle of being heavy-handed if he could, and not leaving anyone alive if he could kill. The totem behind Bai Yan, who had come to Shark Mang's side, rotated, and the huge crocodile inside the totem suddenly shot out more than 20 holy light beams. These 20 holy light beams hit the important joints of the mermaid's body, directly shattering all of them. If Shark Mang had suffered an attack from Bai Yan's sacred art, it could still resist. Now that Shark Mang's joints had been destroyed, and it could not move, it had completely become an animal waiting to be slaughtered by Bai Yan. Bai Yan immediately reached out and grabbed Shark Mang, who had collapsed on the ground, and fiercely pinched Shark Mang's skull. Feeling the impending death, Shark Mang could no longer hold it in and shouted with all the strength in its body, "You can't kill me. I'm the biological sister of the Imperial Mermaid Clan's clan leader, the Imperial Mermaid Clan's Princess Royal. Does the Radiance Clan want to start a war with the Sea Clan?" ABC. Chapter 13-16. Gu En snorted and said to Shark Ray, "The one who disregarded the Huihai Treaty is you. The one who disregarded the Huihai Treaty is you. If you were concerned about the Huihai Treaty, why would you come to the Radiance Empire's territorial sea? How would you be seriously injured? You know how to bring up the Huihai Treaty at this time. Do you think the Huihai Treaty signed by their holiness and the sea race is a joke? Moreover, you just had the intention to kill their holiness disciple. What qualifications do you have to talk about your identity now?" Lin Yuan looked at the mother of Bloodbath's struggling body because of the awakening of the Sky Corona Jade Spider bloodline. He immediately lifted its tail and ordered Bai Yan. "Bai Yan, don't talk nonsense with her. Kill her." After speaking, Lin Yuan looked at Shark Ray with a knife-like gaze. Just as Shark Ray's life was about to dissipate in Bai Yan's hands, Lin Yuan said coldly, "This matter is not over even if you die. It's not over even if you die. If the mother of Bloodbath dies today, I will use all means to bury the entire Imperial Mermaids and Mermaids race with the mother of Bloodbath. Even if the mother of Bloodbath survives, the Imperial Mermaid race is destined to pay the price in blood. From today onwards, the Imperial Mermaid race will be my eternal enemy." Lin Yuan's words were powerful and full of determination. Before Shark Ray's consciousness dissipated, it heard Lin Yuan's words and felt a chill in its soul. Before it could think more, it lost its life. However, the others present were deep in thought because of Lin Yuan's words. Lu Jie, the slaughterer butterfly, and Bai Yan were all on Lin Yuan's side and always acted according to Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan's will was the goal of Lu Jie, the slaughterer butterfly, and Bai Yan. Gu En knew Lin Yuan's identity as the Moon Empress disciple and understood that every word Lin Yuan said had incomparable power. Let's not talk about whether the Moon Empress would help Lin Yuan destroy the entire Imperial Mermaid race after the death of this severely injured Spider Fae, or whether Lin Yuan had his own means to annihilate the entire Imperial Mermaid race. In short, the enmity between Lin Yuan and the Imperial Mermaid race was formed. According to what Lin Yuan had just said, even if that Arachne Fae survived, it would not be able to survive. Lin Yuan was still prepared to fight with the Imperial Mermaid race to the end. Lin Yuan had won the Civil and Martial Duel Championship at the Nyx Assembly and obtained a Radiant Light Medal. For Lin Yuan to have such strength at his age, it was enough to show that Lin Yuan's talent was higher than Zhong Zhe, Gu Lang, and An He. With such talent, Lin Yuan would definitely be able to surpass Zhong Zhe, Gu Lang, and An He within 2 years. It could be said that as long as no accidents happened in these 2 years, it was almost certain that Lin Yuan would become a Radiance envoy. The power in Lin Yuan's words could not represent the entire Radiance. At most, he could only represent the Radiant Moon Palace. However, when Lin Yuan became the Radiance envoy, his words were enough to represent the will of the entire Radiance envoys. It was very likely that Lin Yuan's words today would be the beginning of the conflict between the Hui Yao and the Ocean Imperial 8 clans, the Imperial Mermaids and Mermaid. Just as Gu En was pondering, and he also spoke. Today, the people of the Imperial Mermaids and Mermaids clan want to kill all of us here. I will definitely tell my master about this when I get back. The Imperial Mermaids and Mermaids have publicly broken the Huihai Treaty. The Mermaids and Mermaids must give us an explanation. When Gu En heard An He's words, the corner of his mouth twitched. Not to mention anything else, the difference between An He and Lin Yuan could be seen just from the way they spoke. An He's words involved Lord Lamp and the entire Hui Yao. However, Lin Yuan only mentioned himself in his words. It was enough to show that Lin Yuan was more independent than Anha. When encountering problems, Anha would seek Lord Long Lamp's help more often, while Lin Yuan had already begun to take charge when encountering problems. Even if they were facing the entire Imperial Mermaids and Mermaids clan. However, the two of them had different opinions on the same matter, and it was enough to show the difference between the two of them. It seemed like An He had not only lost to Lin Yuan in terms of strength, but he had also lost in terms of the situation. Indai was in an exceptionally good mood the moment Mermaid Mang died. The death of Shark Mang announced that Indai would no longer have to face the danger of being killed, nor would she have to flee for her life in the sea. However, Shark Mang's death also meant that he had to testify for the Radiance faction. Otherwise, the Radiance faction would never spare him. They could testify that the Mermaids tore the Huihai Treaty. Not only did they put the Imperial Mermaids and Mermaids clan on fire. This caused the entire sea race to bear the infamy of treachery. In the conflict with the Mermaid, 3 of His Holiness's disciples were almost killed. How could the Radiance faction let this go? Indai did not expect that she had just escaped the fate of fleeing for her life in the sea, and now she was forced to become a sinner of the sea race. It did not matter whether her testifying for the Radiance faction was right or wrong, or how many gains and losses there were. However, from the standpoint of the sea race, she was definitely wrong. This made Indai know that if she wanted to develop or survive in the future, she had to cling tightly to the Radiance faction. If she could not cling to the Radiance faction, she would have no backing. The Imperial Mermaids clan would definitely be the first to find her and ask her to explain for Shark Mang's death. Indai thought about her situation and exclusion in the Imperial Mermaids clan, and then thought about the internal decay of the sea race. Indai's fists could not help but clench tightly. A somewhat bold and even absurd idea emerged in Indai's mind. The vast sea was filled with sea emperors, and there were at least hundreds of sea emperors among the 8 clans in all the waters. The number of sea emperors of the sea race was more than the number of His Holiness on land. This was the sea race's confidence. However, the sea race had never united in the face of trouble. Otherwise, why would the 8 clans of the Sea Emperor clan unite and sign the Radiance Sea Treaty with the Radiance faction? Since the sea race had their own ulterior motives and had fallen apart. Why couldn't a Sea Emperor rule the 4 Sea Emperors and let the sea race walk towards prosperity? This idea stirred Indai's heart. It was as though a seed had been planted in Indai's heart. Lin Yuan had said those words without considering the consequences and his identity as the Moon Empress disciple. He had also not considered what kind of impact saying such words would have. Lin Yuan's words were completely in accordance with his heart. The moment the mother of Bloodbath was pierced by the black thorns and turned into a hedgehog, Lin Yuan's heart had an unprecedented viciousness. The battle with Shark Mang had made Lin Yuan understand a principle. Shark Mang had dared to exploit the loophole of the Radiant Sea Treaty and even ignored it. It was nothing more than its own strength that allowed Shark Mang to have such confidence. Lin Yuan understood that when a person was strong enough, they could break any rules and agreements. This made Lin Yuan completely understand the true meaning of respecting martial arts. Since martial arts were respected in this world, why not settle grudges and gratitude? At that moment, Lin Yuan's mentality changed again. Bai Yen had always kept Lin Yuan's orders in mind. After killing Shark Mang, Bai Yen hurriedly brought Shark Mang's body to Lin Yuan's side. ABC. Chapter 13-17. Without another word, Lin Yuan immediately took the Shark Ray's body from Bai Yan's hands. He then threw Shark Mang's body at the struggling Mother of Bloodbath. Mother of Bloodbath, the members of the Imperial Mermaids and Mermaids are all Bloodwater dual phase. Try to absorb the blood energy in this mermaid's body. Call me if you need spiritual chi. Mother of Bloodbath, you must hold on and survive. At that moment, the Mother of Bloodbath could not even say a word under the torture of the Sky Corona Jade Spider bloodline. Even his consciousness had fallen into a blurry state. Instinctively, the Mother of Bloodbath keenly sensed the huge blood energy in Shark Ray's body. This blood energy was exactly what the Mother of Bloodbath needed right now. After the Mother of Bloodbath instinctively came into contact with Shark Ray's body, it immediately wanted to stab its spider legs into Shark Ray's body. However, the Shark Ray was a peak immortal fae after all. Even though it was a dead myth breed, the Mother of Bloodbath was still unable to pierce the Shark Ray's skin with its spider legs. Finally, as the Mother of Bloodbath's spider legs fumbled, it found the hole that Bai Yen had used the Holy Light Pillar to open on the mermaid's body. The Mother of Bloodbath's spider legs pierced through these holes and quickly absorbed the blood energy in Shark Mang's body. When Indai realized her predicament and sneaked a peek at Lin Yuan's expression turned even graver than before. Bai Yen was no longer needed here. Lin Yuan found that Bai Yan's eyes had been staring at He and Lu Jie. In the dimensional world, the apostles could only maintain their human form with the help of the sacred source body. As long as Bai Yen wasn't stupid, he would definitely notice that something was wrong with the situation. Lin Yuan didn't want Bai Yen to stay in the origin world any longer. He was afraid that Bai Yen would notice something and become suspicious of his identity as a ruler. Lin Yuan withdrew the power of faith that he had injected into Bai Yan's body and removed the body of faith. Lin Yuan said to Bai Yen, "Bai Yen, stay here for a while." Then, Lin Yuan took out the treasure cave golden cicada's skin and stomach pouch. Lin Yuan did not immediately put Bai Yen into the spirit lock spatial zone and let him return to the dimensional world through it. Instead, he prepared to take out the treasure cave golden toad's skin and stomach to store Bai Yen away. It was because Lin Yuan did not trust Bai Yen enough. Although Bai Yen had entered the spirit lock spatial zone before, the spirit lock spatial zone was a very important matter, and Lin Yuan didn't wish for Bai Yen to step into it again. When Bai Yen heard Lin Yuan's instructions, he respectfully nodded at Lin Yuan and said, "All right, I'll leave now. My lord, if there's anything you need, just call me at any time. Bai Yen will be at your disposal at any time." Bai Yen had indeed discovered that something was wrong with the situation. Bai Yen had already keenly realized that he had arrived in a new world. That was because the laws and even the energy system of this world were completely different from the swamp world. Bai Yen had discovered this point when he was fighting against the shark ray. Bai Yen was naturally suspicious, but he did not have any thoughts of suspecting Lin Yuan's identity. When Bai Yen realized that he had arrived in a new world, he worshipped Lin Yuan even more. They thought that the Lord Ruler they followed was going to conquer another world. When Lin Yuan had manipulated the massive power of faith to pour into Bai Yan's body, Bai Yen had a feeling that he was the number one person below the ruler. Previously, Bai Yan's power of faith had only been above average, but it had reached an extremely powerful level due to Lin Yuan's enhancement. It was a whole new level. With such powerful power of faith, it was impossible for Lin Yuan not to be a ruler. Even if Lin Yuan was not a ruler, in Bai Yan's heart, Lin Yuan was a life form that was higher than a ruler. However, Lin Yuan had asked him to go back at this time, which obviously showed that he did not trust him. Bai Yen knew that if he could not obtain Lin Yuan's trust, he would never be able to become Lin Yuan's confidant. It was just that Bai Yen, who had always been alone in the swamp world, never knew how to curry favor with someone. Moreover, this person was the ruler he followed. Bai Yen felt that when he returned to his territory, he should call all of his believers over. Every day, these fellows would think of ways to curry favor with him. It was time for him to learn from them how to curry favor with the great sovereign. Bai Yen and the Void Shadow Demon had met face to face, and Bai Yen felt that his strength was far superior to the Void Shadow Demon. However, why could the Void Shadow Demon follow the Lord Ruler while he could not? It seemed that he was still not as good at licking as the Void Shadow Demon. The moment Bai Yen entered the treasure cave Golden Toad, Lin Yuan suddenly realized that Bai Yan's light spot in his shrine had suddenly grown several times larger. The light spot that belonged to Bai Yen was flickering brightly. After suddenly growing several times, it even showed signs of growing bigger. This made Lin Yuan feel much more at ease. The increase in Bai Yan's faith spot in the shrine represented Bai Yan's deeper loyalty and faith toward him. It seemed that he could trust Bai Yen well in the future. However, Lin Yuan was confused about the sudden increase in Bai Yan's power of faith. He clearly did not do anything. Things like faith were really hard to understand. Anyway, no matter what, Lin Yuan would not have thought that Bai Yen would use his imagination to deeply understand him. Bai Yen had completely become his bootlicker. Now that the Mother of Bloodbath had awakened the Sky Corona Jade Spider bloodline, it did not need any military help. Everything was up to the Mother of Bloodbath. The most Lin Yuan could do was to provide the Mother of Bloodbath with blood energy and pure spirit qi. After its death, its sacred source life form, scarlet tentacle algae, began to slowly wither. It could no longer maintain the original scarlet theater. The sacred source life form, scarlet tentacle algae, had only withered, not died. This meant that the contract between the shark ray and scarlet tentacle algae was not a marrow contract. It was just an ordinary contract. This was the best. If the blood energy in the shark mang's body was not enough for the mother of bloodbath to absorb, the blood energy in the dying 6-star sacred source lifeform, scarlet tentacle algae, would be the best tonic for the mother of bloodbath. However, it was precisely because of this that the uneasiness in Lin Yuan's heart became increasingly serious. Compared to the risks in his hands, he was more afraid of risks that he could not control. According to Morbius True Data, the Scarlet Tentacle was a Pinnacle Class 6 Sacred Source lifeform. He was so close to advancing to 7-star and transforming from the growth stage to the mature stage. The blood energy in the body of a peak 6-star Scarlet Tentacle algae was even more than the blood energy in the body of Shark Mang, the water and blood dual attribute Sea Emperor. The existence of the Scarlet Tentacle algae ensured that the mother of bloodbath had sufficient blood energy in the process of awakening the Sky Corona Jade Spider bloodline. This allowed Lin Yuan's uneasiness to subside a little. However, before the withering Scarlet Tentacle algae could completely appear in the sky, a scorching, ribbon-like ray of sunlight descended from the 9 heavens. Chapter 13:18. This ribbon-like blazing light was like a chain hanging directly from the sun. It was dusk at that time, but the moment this sun chain descended, the entire world was as bright as noon. The sun chain burned and distorted the air, and the air was calcined into an overflowing red glow. The red glow circulated like the sun chain's armor. The sun chain landed on the mother of bloodbath's body without any explanation, dyeing its red crystal-like body with a layer of jade-like orange. The black spikes that were originally stuck in the mother of bloodbath's body turned into ashes under the sun chain's cleansing. It seemed like the mother of bloodbath was recovering from its injuries under the sun chain. However, the mother of bloodbath let out an extremely shrill scream. At that moment, the mother of bloodbath only felt that its internal organs were burning, and every inch of its cells was like a demon in the night being captured by a priest and burned under the blazing sun. The sun chain quickly awakened the celestial jade spider bloodline that the mother of bloodbath had just triggered. The mother of bloodbath originally had the bloodline of the scarlet tarantula flowing in its body. However, the celestial jade spider bloodline was like a high and mighty empress compared to the scarlet tarantula bloodline. The scarlet tarantula bloodline, which was already the top among the existing arachnid phase, was like a humble subject in front of the celestial jade spider bloodline. The only way to go was to submit to him. As the celestial jade spider bloodline awakened and soaked into the mother of bloodbath's body, the burning sensation on the mother of bloodbath's body became more and more severe. If the pain from being pierced by the black spikes just now was 1 point, at that moment, the pain that the mother of bloodbath was suffering had reached at least 100 points. The conflict between the two bloodlines in its body, and the pain caused by the sun chain's burning caused the mother of bloodbath's consciousness to gradually fade. It even made the mother of bloodbath think that it would be better to die and end all troubles once and for all than to endure such pain. As an arachnid fae that had struggled to survive since it was young, the mother of bloodbath's willpower was strong enough. However, even the strongest person would be destroyed by pain. It mainly depended on how painful the pain was. Just as the mother of bloodbath's vision turned black, a voice appeared at the end of its soul. "I don't want you to die. I want you to live." This voice cleansed the mother of bloodbath's soul, causing the figure of a youth to appear in its heart. Under the extreme pain, a willpower that could overcome pain erupted in the mother of bloodbath's heart and soul. The mother of bloodbath opened its eyes, changed back to human form with difficulty, and rose into the air. He flew up along the sun chain and faced the sun directly. There was only determination and determination in the mother of bloodbath's eyes. There was no trace of timidity or hesitation. This sudden scene shocked everyone except Lin Yuan and Lu Jie. Only Lu Jie and Lin Yuan knew that the mother of bloodbath had the bloodline of the celestial corona jade spider. As one of the 3 major butterfly species phase, the slaughter sky butterfly could directly sense the aura emanating from the mother of Bloodbath's body. The predator sky butterfly's eyes widened. The words chosen by the heavens were stuck in its throat. The slaughter sky butterfly had never expected that the fae that it had almost killed in its slaughter worm form would have such a noble bloodline. This was the chosen by the heavens. As a fae, the slaughter sky butterfly was very clear about what the chosen by the heavens represented. Every chosen by the heavens had a huge backer behind them. That was the legendary Heaven's Blessed Mansion. The Heaven's Blessed Mansion was an existence that could rival the Sea Race, the three major federations, the Era Secret Meeting, and even the Pagoda Cannon. However, the Heaven's Blessed Mansion had not appeared in the world for many years. Since becoming Lin Yuan's subordinate, the slaughter sky butterfly had always been curious about how the Myth 2 Mother of Bloodbath was qualified to become the path protector of Lin Yuan, the Moon Empress disciple. To put it bluntly, Lin Yuan had used the strength that he had used against He to fight the Mother of Bloodbath. The Mother of Bloodbath might not have been able to gain the upper hand. No matter how strong the Mother of Bloodbath was in the same grade, it was destined to be inferior to Duan He's purple demon. As a multi-headed sea demon snake, the purple demon was invincible in the same grade, and it was a fact recognized by all fays. Now, the slaughter sky butterfly finally understood why the Mother of Bloodbath was qualified to become Lin Yuan's path protector. If all of this was arranged by the Moon Empress, then she had been playing a big game from a long time ago. The slaughter sky butterfly had always been aware of Lin Yuan's support for the Mother of Bloodbath. As a Myth 2 Fae, the Mother of Bloodbath had received a sacred source lifeform from Lin Yuan before it had advanced to Myth 3. This was an unimaginable honor for any myth breed Fae. The Mother of Bloodbath usually used bunches of blood brew grapes to increase its strength. If this condition was made known, it would probably be envied to death by other blood-type Faes. As the Princess Royal of the Imperial Mermaids and Mermaids, the daily consumption of blood-type spiritual ingredients might not be comparable to that of the Mother of Bloodbath. The Mother of Bloodbath and Lin Yuan's friendship could be personally felt by the killer sky butterfly when it was in contact with Lin Yuan and the Mother of Bloodbath. It could be said that even without the Path Protector oath between Lin Yuan and the Mother of Bloodbath, their relationship was still inseparable. To some extent, through the Mother of Bloodbath's relationship, Lin Yuan had already established an unimaginably powerful relationship with the Heaven-Blessed Mansion. And he, Guan, Sun Jiang, Zhang Qing, Yindai, and Yindai's two Sea Kings looked at the Mother of Bloodbath with dumbfounded expressions. In the end, it was Guan who reacted first. Guan looked at Lin Yuan and then at the Mother of Bloodbath. He did not understand why the Moon Empress disciple would have a favored spirit whose bloodline was awakening. This favored spirit was an arachnid and belonged to the sun. Could this arachnid fae be the descendant of the favored spirit that had transformed into the Radiance Hundred's southernmost lava land? A few months ago, the Azure Federation had sent a delegation to attend the Radiance Hundred Sequences ceremony. A week ago, when Lord Longlamp had left, he had said that the Freedom Federation had also decided to send a delegation to the Radiance Hundred. The relationship between the Freedom Federation and the Radiance Federation had always been incompatible. Since the Freedom Federation had sent a Freedom Envoy to the Radiance Hundred sequence, there had to be a purpose. The current Radiance Hundred sequence was a place where violent winds gathered. However, there was a favored spirit within the Radiance Hundred sequence's range that was attracting the sun. The Heaven-Blessed Mansion would probably immediately send the favored spirit to the Radiance Hundred sequence after noticing this. There were even other hidden factions eyeing the Radiance Hundred sequence covetously in the Radiance Hundred. The Radiance Hundred sequence selection in a month's time was probably going to set off a huge storm in the royal capital. There was only one sun in the main world, and the sun's abnormal movements were appreciated by the entire world. In the sky above an island, A red-haired youth with odd pupils looked at the abnormal movements of the sun and suddenly burst into tears. Chapter 13:19. The red-haired youth wasn't the only one. The blue-haired girl who controlled the waters of the four seas to flood the island, and the brawny man who wore a fishnet suit and looked down at the island from the sky felt the movement of the sun and showed expressions of extreme joy. The two quickly acted and killed everyone in the secret base of the tower cannon on the island. Then they arrived in front of the red-haired youth. At this time, the two were so excited that they didn't know how to congratulate Shuai-Shua. He could only watch as Shuai-Shua's tears overflowed from his eyes and flowed down his cheeks. Finally, they dripped from his sharp jaw and landed on the island. In these years, Shuai-Shua had always been thinking about Yugui. Now that Yugui was dead, Shuai-Shua's only motivation was revenge. When everyone comforted Shuai-Shua, they always said that his and sister Yugui's child was still alive. But everyone knew that this was just a comfort. They didn't think that sister Yugui and Shuai-Shua's child was still alive, and he was even guiding the sun to awaken his bloodline. This was truly a great thing. Just as Blue Lotus and White Phoenix calmed down and prepared to congratulate Shuai-Shua, the two saw Shuai-Shua's lips curl into a warm smile. Shuai-Shua's smile was very warm. Blue Lotus and White Phoenix had never seen such a warm smile appear on Shuai-Shua's face. Suddenly, Shuai-Shua laughed madly on the sea. "My child is still alive. She is still alive. My child and Yugui's child is still alive." Amidst his laughter, Shuai-Shua repeated these words countless times. Blue Lotus and White Phoenix saw the gloominess and dispiritedness in Shuai-Shua's laughing eyes slowly fade. A ray of hope for the future bloomed in Shuai-Shua's eyes. After laughing, Shuai-Shua pulled Blue Lotus and White Phoenix over and said with wild joy in his eyes, "My child and Yugui's child is still alive. I don't know how much this child has suffered in these years." When he said this, Shuai-Shua couldn't help but blame himself. If he had immediately gone to the Radiance Institute to find his and Yugui's child after waking up at the Blessed Abode, maybe his and Yugui's child would have suffered less. On one hand, Bai Feng and Lan Lian were happy for their elder sister Yugui, on the other hand, they were happy for Shuai-Shua. But now, Shuai-Shua was crying tears of joy. He did not look like a father at all, more like a child. Lan Lian flipped her hand and tossed a tomato at Shuai-Shua. "The sun is moving in the direction of the radiance. It's the same direction as our target this time. It will take about a month for us to reach the Radiance sect at full speed. Let's go now. You'll be able to see your and sister Yugui's child in a month." Unlike Lan Lian's optimism, Bai Feng's brows were tightly knitted together. The chosen spirits were the weakest during the awakening of their bloodline. During this process, both Fays and humans would instinctively cast covetous eyes on the favored spirit. If they were closer, they would be able to rush over immediately to help. But now they were so far away, and Yugui and Shuai-Shua's children were in the process of awakening their bloodlines. Could he really survive unscathed? Both Shuai-Shua and Shuai-Shua's children had the same physical condition. They both had half of the bloodline of the Scarlet Tarantula and half of the Sky Corona Jade Spider. Back then, Shuai-Shua had barely survived. In the end, it was Sister Ziqing who had sacrificed half of her tail for Shuai-Shua's bloodline transformation to be successful. After Shuai-Shua was overjoyed by this sudden surprise, he quickly calmed down. Shuai-Shua, who had calmed down, immediately realized this. Back then, his wife, Yugui, had been targeted by the pagoda cannon's 5 pages of truth when she was pregnant. That had led to her death. Now that his daughter had awakened the favored spirit's bloodline, it was hard to guarantee that she would not be targeted by others. He had the strength, but it was beyond his reach. If he were to head to the Radiance sect now, he would not be able to solve any problems. Not to mention more than a month, even an hour would be enough for everything to be settled. A sense of helplessness and worry spread in Shuai-Shua's heart, corroding it. Back then, his wife had been attacked, and he did not have the strength. Instead, He had been protected by his wife. Now that his daughter was in danger, he had the strength, but he could not do anything because he was too far away. Two different feelings of helplessness revolved in Xue Shua's heart. It made Xue Shua feel ashamed to be a husband and a father. Suddenly, Xue Shua noticed that the sun chain in the sky had darkened. The darkening sun chain made Xue Shua's heart clench. Xue Shua, who had awakened the Sky Deca Jade Spider bloodline, had experienced this before. He understood the relationship between the sun chain and the bloodline awakening best. This sun chain was the connection between the sun and the favored spirit that belonged to the sun. The darkening of the sun chain meant that the connection was weakening. Could it be that his daughter was in a bad situation? Or had she encountered some trouble? On the island outside Raging Wave City, Lin Yuan was observing the Mother of Bloodbath's situation. He released Bai Yen from the Treasure Cave Golden Cicada artifact. The Mother of Bloodbath could not be disturbed at all. Lin Yuan had to be wary of the Sea Empress, Silver Dai, and even Gu En. Lin Yuan had to prevent them from doing anything that would affect the Mother of Bloodbath's bloodline transformation. On the other side, and he had already come back to his senses. After coming back to his senses, and he directly ordered Gu En, "Grandpa Gu, let Lin Yuan's subordinates guard the sea region outside the Radiant sect. Don't worry about me. Go and guard the direction of Raging Waves City. Don't let anyone from the direction of Raging Waves City come to this island. If someone insists on coming here to join in the fun, you can kill them," after emphasizing it. And he then said to Zhang Qing and Sun Jiang, who were beside him, "Uncle Zhang, Uncle Sun, the two of you fly to the left and right sides of the island. On one hand, prevent Fays above the myth realm from jumping out of the sea. On the other hand, don't let light-type fish Fays wantonly absorb light energy from the sea. Otherwise, it will accelerate the energy dissipation in this sun chain." Gu En was a little hesitant when he heard En He's order. Finally, he looked at the determined expression on En He's face. Gu En still took his two Fays and soared into the sky, flying toward Raging Wave City. While flying, Gu En thought to himself, "I hope no one is looking for trouble at this time. The Moon Empress disciple, Lin Yuan, has already gone crazy. For his subordinates, the Sea Empress of the Sea Empress 8 clans killed the Sea Empress just like that. He even said that he wants to fight the Imperial Mermaid clan to the end. If someone caused trouble and affected this spider Fae that was forcibly awakening the favored spirit bloodline in the sky, he was afraid that the entire faction would be implicated and uprooted by Lin Yuan. When Lin Yuan heard En He's arrangement, he said to En He with gratitude, En He, thank you. ABC. Chapter 1320. En He's ears heated up, and he hurriedly waved his hand. It's nothing. What's there to thank me for? My Zhen Yuekue's injuries aren't serious. I'll bring him to the other side of the island to help guard it. After saying that, En He leaped up, grabbed Zhen Yuekue's horn, and exerted force on his waist, flipped over and sat on Zhen Yuekue's horn. He let the Zhen Yuekue bring him to a faraway place on the island. Lin Yuan didn't have time to be polite with En He, but he remembered En He's kindness in his heart. Lin Yuan sensed the Mother of Bloodbath's condition, and realized that it wasn't doing well at all. Even the aura on his body began to weaken. At that moment, Lin Yuan heard the Mother of Bloodbath speak weakly. Lin Yuan, I have already exhausted the pure spirit qi that you transferred into my body. I urgently need a large amount of pure spirit qi and blood energy. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan and Lu Jie looked at each other, and the two of them quickly took action. Lu Jie let the dimensional light moth spit out the insect queen and let it mass-produce hurricane owlet moth. Lu Jie then summoned a new insect-type tumor Fae. If anyone from Golden Edge City saw the insect-type carcinoma Fae that Lu Jie had summoned, they would definitely tremble in fear. This was because the insect-type tumor Fae that Lu Jie summoned was Golden Edge City's nightmare, the sawtooth devour ant. If Chef Supreme had not taken out the army's rations during that disaster, at least 2/3 of Golden Edge City's population would have starved to death. Lu Jie ordered the sawtooth devour ant's indestructible lower jaw to chew on the sacred source lifeform, the scarlet tentacle algae. He cut the algae into the size that the Diamond X hurricane owlet moths could carry. He then let the hurricane owlet moths play the role of suicide bombers. They brought the scarlet tentacle algae to the mother of bloodbath's side, allowing its body to be incinerated. They also vowed to bring the scarlet tentacle algae, which contained pure blood energy, to the mother of bloodbath. While Lu Jie was busy, Lin Yuan wasn't idle either. Lin Yuan entered the spirit lock spatial zone and plucked out all the dragon spirit peonies. Then, he plucked the flower buds one by one and relied on his powerful fire elemental resistance. It spread its wings made of day and night spirit silver feathers and flew toward the mother of bloodbath. At that moment, Lin Yuan was like a moth flying into a fire, but he was far from being as stubborn as a moth. When the day and night spirit liquid that formed his wings started to soften, he stopped flying forward. He stopped and injected the remaining life force in the vitality imprint into the mother of bloodbath. He threw the flower bud filled with spiritual power toward the mother of bloodbath. Under the infusion of a large amount of blood energy and pure spirit energy, the belt of the sun lit up again. He had done what he could. The mother of bloodbath would have to go through everything else on its own. During the process of the sun ribbon injecting energy into the mother of bloodbath's body, the sky corona jade spider bloodline in the mother of bloodbath became more and more active. The mother of bloodbath's eyes began to evolve into orange and red pupils. Gradually, the mother of bloodbath's red crystal-like leather armor was sublimated by the sun chain. The moment the red crystal leather armor disappeared, the orange-red dress appeared on the mother of bloodbath's body. A crown condensed from light even appeared on the mother of bloodbath's head. At that moment, the mother of bloodbath was like the sun goddess, holding the sun's brilliance. Just as the mother of bloodbath's situation was getting better, the second and third sun chains poured down from the sky at the same time. Even the world cleansing of Myth 3 quietly arrived. Under the scorching sun, the silver snakes swam. Although there were no ink clouds, it let people know that a thunderbolt was brewing in the sky. The 3 sun chains landed on the mother of bloodbath together, and it suddenly groaned in pain. In an instant, half of the mother of bloodbath's body was burned into charcoal. At that moment, Lin Yuan heard the mother of bloodbath speak in a hoarse voice. Lin Yuan, the spirit chi is enough. I urgently need to cool down now. This is the most critical step for me to awaken the sky corona jade spider bloodline. I need to hold on for a minute. I need to ensure that my body will not be burned by these 3 sun chains and successfully survive the Myth 3 world cleansing. Only then can I borrow the world grace to awaken. Upon hearing the mother of bloodbath's words, Lin Yuan immediately knew what else he could do for the mother of bloodbath now. The slaughter sky butterfly was guarding below. The Myth 3 world cleansing and the first creation tribulation monarch grade slaughter sky butterfly could completely help the mother of bloodbath block it. It would not let the mother of bloodbath suffer any damage from the Myth 3 world cleansing. The mother of bloodbath only needed to wait for the world grace to arrive. However, the slaughter sky butterfly obviously did not have the ability to cool down. This was the sea, and the best way to cool down was to use seawater. A better way was to let the seawater freeze and use the difference in temperature to make the temperature drop faster. At that moment, Lin Yuan was extremely glad that the princess had absorbed the vast sea whale's world crystal first and had not used the newly acquired vast sea wave jumping strike in the battle with Anha. Instead, he had used the dark crow withering strike. If he had used the vast sea wave jumping strike just now, Lin Yuan would not have any way to help the mother of bloodbath lower the sun chain's temperature. Lin Yuan took a deep breath, and the sacred sword that had previously disappeared in his hand appeared again. However, this time, the sacred sword was no longer purple like before, but blue like the fusion of water and ice. Lin Yuan waved the sacred sword, and the sound of turbid waves echoed above the sea. Lin Yuan flapped his wings and landed on the surface of the sea. He activated the vast sea wave jumping strike, which could gather the power of the four seas. The surging seawater under Lin Yuan's feet stirred up blue waves, and the blue waves spread as though they were measuring the size of the water. The distant sea outside Raging Waves City was an extremely wide sea without any tall ridges or huge islands. After the waves spread out, a loud whale cry came from the bottom of the sea. This loud whale cry accompanied the cry of the island whale embryo, but it was longer and longer than the island whale embryo's cry. If it was the cry of the island whale embryo, it was the cry of a young whale. Then the whale cry under Lin Yuan's feet was the roar of the giant whale at the most majestic time of its life. The moment Lin Yuan opened his eyes, the surging force of the seawater made his clothes flutter without any wind. Lin Yuan waved his blade at the mother of bloodbath, and 2,000-meter-tall waves surged from both sides. The two huge waves carried a power that seemed to want to smash everything in front of them into pieces. However, these two huge waves did not advance an inch when they were 5 meters away from the mother of bloodbath. Instead, they suddenly froze and turned into 2,000-meter-tall icebergs in the shape of huge waves. ABC. Chapter 13:21. The cold air released by the iceberg weakened the burning sensation on the mother of bloodbath's body. The sun chains continued to melt the iceberg, and the melted glaciers boiled into water vapor. This lowered the temperature of the 3 sun chains for the second time. After the glaciers melted completely, Lin Yuan waved the sacred sword in his hand and huge waves appeared again. The huge waves continued to condense into glaciers 5 meters away from the mother of bloodbath, repeating the cycle. As the owner of the sacred sword, when he used the whale sea jumping wave strike, Lin Yuan was immediately shocked by the increase of the water area under his feet on the whale sea jumping wave strike. Using the whale sea jumping wave strike in the sea gave Lin Yuan a feeling that he could fight with a creation. Lin Yuan did not let the giant whale hidden under the sea surface jump out of the water. He just let the giant whale set off huge waves under the sea surface and relied on the ability to transform water into ice to solve the problem of cooling the mother of bloodbath. Although the mother of bloodbath was in a bad situation, its body would not directly carbonize under the 3 sun chains. The mother of bloodbath was using its sky corona jade spider bloodline to absorb the energy in the 3 sun chains. However, the more it absorbed the energy in the 3 sun chains, the more puzzled the mother of bloodbath felt. In the mother of bloodbath's understanding, the sun's energy mainly included light and heat. However, the mother of bloodbath, which was in the midst of its bloodline transformation, found that it could only absorb the light energy in the sun. After the mother of bloodbath absorbed the fire energy that released heat, it would quickly slip away from its body. In other words, the sun chains originally had light and fire element. However, the mother of bloodbath could only absorb the light element. The fire element seemed to be incompatible with the mother of bloodbath's body. No matter how hard the mother of bloodbath tried to retain it, it couldn't. No matter how hard it tried, the fire elements had no reluctance to leave the mother of bloodbath. This was inconsistent with the legend of the sky corona jade spider. It was also inconsistent with the mother of bloodbath's bloodline memories. Without anyone to guide it, the mother of bloodbath, who was relying on itself, did not know why. Just as the mother of bloodbath was puzzled and had a trace of confusion, it looked at Lin Yuan. It looked at Lin Yuan, who was standing under it and protecting it. The mother of bloodbath felt an indescribable peace and warmth in its heart. That indescribable feeling made the mother of bloodbath understand what it wanted to pursue for the rest of its life. Since he had a goal, he could not die on the awakening of the celestial corona jade spider bloodline. When Lin Yuan saw that the huge waves could alleviate the mother of bloodbath's situation, he did not continue to summon the giant whale hidden under the water. Lin Yuan was afraid that something unexpected would happen in a while. Who knew if there would be more sun ribbons falling? If that was the case, he would have to cool down as soon as possible. Otherwise, the mother of Bloodbath's body might be burnt to a crisp the moment the fourth sun chain fell. Of course, this was just Lin Yuan's idea of being vigilant in times of peace. Gradually, Lin Yuan realized that even if he did not lower the temperature, the mother of Bloodbath's body would no longer be charred. This meant that the mother of Bloodbath's Fossa Jade spider bloodline was growing. The mother of Bloodbath's acceptance of the sun strip was increasing. But before Lin Yuan could heave a sigh of relief, the sun in the sky suddenly seemed to lose control, and 6 more beautiful sun strips fell. The 6 newly appeared sun strips and the ones that had fallen on the mother of Bloodbath formed a sky curtain in the sky. This scene scared Lin Yuan out of his wit. What kind of jinx is this? Whatever I think comes true. The mother of Bloodbath had just been able to withstand 3 sun strips, and now 6 came down. How could the mother of Bloodbath withstand the temperature of 9 sun strips? Just as the 6 sun strips attacked the mother of Bloodbath, Lin Yuan raised his sacred sword. At the same time, the giant whale's roar echoed in the sea again. A giant whale that covered the sky leaped out of the sea without any warning. This giant whale, which was more than 3 times the size of the floating island whale, instantly leaped above the mother of Bloodbath's head. The moment the giant whale leaped above the mother of Bloodbath's head, it suddenly turned into ice. The giant whale released cold air that froze the warm sea for thousands of miles. The giant whale's tail brought up a huge wave that splashed a beautiful ice coffin around the mother of Bloodbath. However, the 6 sun strips that descended from the sun were the true power of heaven and earth. Even if the giant whale summoned by the sword skill whale sea jumping wave strike had the strength of a creation breed, it still could not stop the power of the 6 sun strip. The 6 newly descended sun strips combined with the original 3 sun strips on the mother of Bloodbath's body. Suddenly, the 9 sun strips merged into one. It became a huge pillar of light that descended from the sun. Sunlight flowed in the pillar of light, and in the blink of an eye, the giant whale completely melted. Before the melted giant whale could pour on the mother of Bloodbath, it completely evaporated into steam. At that moment, Lin Yuan had already struck out his strongest attack. The sword skill whale sea jumping wave strike was broken, and Lin Yuan had no other way to cool down the mother of Bloodbath. Lin Yuan, who was shouting the mother of Bloodbath's name with his eyes wide open, saw the mother of Bloodbath take out a wooden tablet that contained cold moonlight at the critical moment. In a panic, the mother of Bloodbath took the wooden tablet and threw it at the light pillar that the 9 sun strips had merged into one. It could be said that Lin Yuan's sword skill whale sea jumping wave strike had summoned the whale and given the mother of Bloodbath a chance to buffer. During this time, the mother of Bloodbath suddenly remembered the crescent moon Psi card that the Moon Empress had given it. Back then, the Moon Empress had only said that the crescent moon Psi card could help it smoothly pass Myth 3 and advance to Creation Breed. Now that it was only advancing from Myth 2 to Myth 3, it was not yet time to use the crescent moon Psi card. In addition, during this time, Lin Yuan had the power of creation or even immortal around him. The mother of Bloodbath felt that the crescent moon Psi card was no longer necessary for it. When it truly became a creation breed, the Void Shadow Demon, Endless Summer, or the Slaughtering Sky Butterfly would all be able to help it survive the creation breed calamity. The mother of Bloodbath had thrown the crescent moon Psi card because it was its last desperate struggle. The only thing on the mother of Bloodbath that could withstand it was the crescent moon Psi card that the Moon Empress had given it. The wooden crescent moon Psi card was small and exquisite. The crescent moon engraved on it gently rotated under the hazy moonlight on the surface of the card. It was such a card that the moment the light pillar formed by the 9 sun strips shone on it, the card emitted layers of ethereal moonlight that were like a veil. In an instant, a bright moon that was smaller than the sun appeared on the horizon. After the bright moon appeared, several chains of moonlight descended like the sun. ABC. Chapter 1322. These moonlight chains descended from the bright moon and fell into the sun pillar. Every moonlight chain grabbed the sunlight beam, forcibly splitting the sunlight beam into 9 sunlight chains. Then a thick moonlight radiance overflowed from the token and draped over the mother of Bloodbath. It was like a layer of moonlight gauze was draped over the mother of Bloodbath. The moonlight chains and the sun chains were in a stalemate, leaving only 5 sun chains on the mother of Bloodbath's body. Before these 5 sun chains landed on the mother of Bloodbath, they were blocked by the moonlight gauze. In this state, the mother of Bloodbath could absorb the light-type energy in the sun chains with peace of mind. The scene of the bright moon in the sky shocked everyone who was paying attention to the sun's abnormality. Immediately, these people had a myriad of different feelings in their hearts. When Lin Yuan saw this scene, he immediately knew that the token that the mother of Bloodbath had thrown out had been given to it by his master, the Moon Empress. He had thought that he was going to lose the mother of Bloodbath, but the moment he saw the clear moonlight radiance released from the token, Lin Yuan's heart was at ease. This moonlight chain had saved him many times in the royal capital's outskirts in the upgraded Class 3 Water World Dimensional Rift. Now, this moonlight chain had saved the people he cared about. It turned out that no matter where and when, his master had always been by his side. Even if his master was in seclusion, he still made plans for himself and the people around him. At that moment, many Spirit Chi professionals had gathered in the direction of Gu In's Shocking Wave City. Those who could arrive here in such a short time were all big shots of Shocking Wave City. Among them was the Shocking Wave Guard Captain, Wang Su. Wang Su's face was distorted, and he kept cursing the city Lord of Sky City in his heart. Lord of Sky City, what the hell are you trying to do? 1.5 hours ago, the situation in Shocking Wave City's sea region had changed drastically. The lowest wave that reached the Shocking Wave City's port was nearly 30 meters. There were many waves that reached 200 meters. No matter how strong and tall Shocking Wave City's city walls were, they could not withstand the continuous impact of such huge waves. Fortunately, the guard envoy had led the spirit guards to set up a line of defense outside Shocking Wave City and used phase to resist the huge wave. As a result, Shocking Wave City's city walls did not suffer any serious damage. But even so, Wang Su still couldn't endure it. If the city lord found out that he had agreed to the deal despite knowing that Sky City was going to cause trouble, he was afraid that the city lord would directly report his mistake to Lord Cicada Cry. As the captain of the Raging Wave Guard, he had almost caused the Raging Wave City to face a tsunami disaster. That was enough for him to be imprisoned in the Pond of Atonement for half a year. Gu En shook his head helplessly as he looked at Wang Su, who was furious and even used His Majesty Cicada Cry to scold him. Gu En knew that Wang Su was a good person. Therefore, Gu En didn't want to do anything to Wang Su, nor did he want Wang Su to be stubborn and get himself into trouble. Gu En looked at Wang Su, whose face was full of anger, and sighed. I heard you say that the guard envoys of the spirit guards have been dispatched to stand guard outside Stormy Wave City. Those guard envoys are smarter than you. They know where they should come and where they shouldn't. Use your brain and think. What kind of person would be able to command the movement department's guard envoys and make them do things? After saying that to Wang Su, Gu En looked at the others with a cold expression. His tone was no longer as friendly as when he was talking to Wang Su. Everyone, I'm sure you've guessed the reason for the sun phenomenon. I've warned you once. If you take another step forward, I won't show you any mercy. While speaking, Gu En didn't let his Fae release its aura, as he was afraid of disturbing that arachnid Fae that was transforming into the favored spirit. However, even if he didn't let his Fae release its aura, no one could see through Gu En's strength. The murderous aura that Gu En released made everyone's heart tremble. As the path protector that solitary Chongdeng had arranged for Anhe, Gu En had been by Anhe's side since he was young. And he was a homebody and didn't come out often. As a result, Gu En hadn't shown his face in the mortal world for over 20 years. In addition, When Guan had been working under solitary Chongdeng in his early years, he had always been wearing a cloak. As a result, Guan, who had taken off his cloak, was like a transparent person in the Radiance Federation. Everyone had heard of the legend of Guan wearing a cloak, but they had never heard of his appearance or name. Just as these people exchanged glances and had the thought of forcing their way through, the bright moon that appeared in the sky made everyone dispel their intention of triggering the favored spirit that had caused the sun phenomenon. Since the Moon Empress was helping that favored spirit, it meant that she was paying attention to this matter. Who would dare to snatch something from the Moon Empress' hands? The few people who had the thought of forcing their way through looked at each other again and hurriedly turned around to return the way they came from. At that moment, the sun and moon hung high in the sky, and they were in a stalemate. The sun seemed to be enraged by the bright moon, and it suddenly dropped hundreds of sun chains. As the mother of Bloodbath's bloodline had awakened, it was already used to the energy of the 5 sun chains. After the crescent moon Psi card enveloped the mother of Bloodbath, it sensed the hundreds of sun chains descending from the sun and collided with them. In the end, cracks appeared on the crescent moon Psi card under the impact of the hundreds of sun chains. The moment the cracks appeared, a cold red light seeped out of the crescent moon Psi card. This red light accelerated the speed at which the cracks spread on the crescent moon Psi card. The moment the crescent moon Psi card completely split into 2, a red moon appeared in the crescent moon Psi card. The crimson moon slowly rose into the air, and in the process, it also released hundreds of red moonlight chains. The hundreds of red moonlight chains tangled with the hundreds of sun chains that had just descended from the sky. Finally, the red moon rose above the dome and stood side by side with the bright moon in the main world. The 2 moons and the sun stood as equals, suppressing the sun with their might. The others did not know what to feel when they saw this scene. However, the Void Shadow Demon, which had escaped from Lin Yuan's shadow when he used the Whale Sea Leap Wave Strike, almost dropped its eyeballs to the ground when it saw this scene. Wasn't this the red moon that had disappeared in the Abyss world? It was precisely the disappearance of this red moon that caused the Abyss world to lose its concept of time. However, it actually saw this red moon again here. The Void Shadow Demon was very familiar with the moonlight chains released by the white moon in the sky. Back then, it had been captured by these moonlight chains. The Void Shadow Demon knew that the person who had captured it with the moonlight chains was Lin Yuan's master. Could it be that the world's moon had been taken away by the Lord Ruler's master? This was too shocking for a demon. ABC. Chapter 13:23. Hundreds of trees were green and thousands of birds were chirping. The faint light spread through the hundreds of trees and warmed the flowers under the trees. Red carps in the shallow pond, orchids on the steep cliff, comfortable and free. This was a fairyland that had dozens of different terrains and was filled with dense natural energy. In this fairyland, rain, snow, clear, cloudy day and night coexisted at the same time. It was as if this fairyland had expanded to become the entire nature. At this moment, 13 graceful figures were standing beside a woman with 12 foxtails and a purple coat. The purple-clad woman held the crystal ball in her hand and looked up at the sun and the 2 moons in the sky with a complicated expression. The purple-furred woman's face was originally filled with grief and anxiety. However, the anxious and sorrowful expression on the purple-clothed woman's face had already disappeared, leaving behind only gratitude and reminiscence. The purple-furred woman sighed softly. My heaven-blessed dojo owes the Radiance Federation a huge favor. I didn't expect that Her Holiness and the Moon Empress would actually make a move for Jade Gui and Xue Shua's child. As the woman spoke, she seemed to suddenly see the young girl who had insisted on taking the holy weeping moon beast away no matter what. Now, that girl had grown into a majesty who protected the kingdom. Clear splendor and blood splashed everywhere. Along the way, the young lady from back then had long since returned the favor. Now that he made another move, Heaven-blessed Mansion would owe that girl a favor. Zi Qing had made up her mind when she sent Xue Shuo, Lan Lian, and Bai Feng out on a mission. This decision was that the blessed dojo would fight the pagoda cannon to the end. The heaven-blessed mansion had not appeared in the world for almost 1,000 years, causing a stir in the continent. But the master of the heavens-blessed dojo was killed by the 5th page of the pagoda cannon. The child who had been wandering outside had only been discovered by the heavens-blessed abode because he had awakened his bloodline. At that time, if Yu Gui had not been in the pregnancy period and her strength had been greatly reduced, how would the 5 pages of truth have dared to find trouble with Yu Gui openly? Looking at the sun chain that was entangled by the moonlight chain, Zi Qing's face revealed a pained smile. Zi Qing took out an orange handkerchief from her bosom and waved it. The handkerchief faced the sun and emitted a faint warm light. The corners of the handkerchief fluttered as if she wanted to hug something. It was unknown if the handkerchief wanted to hug the sun or the mother of Bloodbath, who was suffering and being reborn under the sun chain. Seeing Zi Qing take out the handkerchief, soft sobs came from the 13 figures beside Zi Qing. A delicate girl with long goose-yellow hair was using her hand to gently wipe away the tears that fell from the corner of her eyes. This girl with long, light yellow hair was wearing a gentle light yellow dress. The pears on the long dress were soaked in gold leaf, decorating the plain and gentle skirt. Because the woman's hands were too slender, and she was crying too much. A teardrop fell from the woman's cheek and onto her skirt. The woman's tears dripped onto her skirt, creating a pool of dew. The dew splashed on the flowers under the woman's feet, startling tens of thousands of orchids. At a glance, this young girl was definitely an immortal that could not be seen in the mortal world no matter what. However, among the 13 people beside Zi Qing, this gentle girl with long, goose-yellow hair did not stand out at all. At this moment, a cold voice that carried a tone of concern resounded by the woman's ear. "Li Luo, why are you crying like a pear blossom every day? From the beginning of the incident until now, Sister Yu Gui always cries when she talks about you. It would be fine if it was any other time, but now that Sister Yu Gui and Xue Shua's child has been found, it's a joyous occasion. What's with you crying now?" The long-haired girl, Li Luo, was already crying her heart out. Now that she was being blamed, her tears flowed non-stop like misty April rain. Li Luo said softly as she cried, "Zhu Bing, I can't help it." Li Luo, who was crying and retorting, choked on her breath and could not help but hiccup. The short-haired woman in purple leather armor beside Li Luo shook her head helplessly. Zhu Bing, this stupid straight man, was hopeless. Zhu Bing had been secretly in love with Li Luo for at least 400 years and had never confessed. Her attitude toward Li Luo was even colder than the others. Was this a trick played by a stupid straight man to hide his love? She was really worried for Zhu Bing. If Zhu Bing continued to be secretly in love with Li Luo, it would be good enough if Li Luo did not hate her. The short-haired woman in purple leather armor patted Li Luo's back while suppressing her hiccups. He said to Zhu Bing, as if she had failed to meet his expectations, "Li Luo's original form is Mei Yu Tangli. If you don't let Li Luo cry, what do you want her to do?" Zhu Bing heard the short-haired woman's words and snorted. She turned her head and thought to herself. She really wanted to help Li Luo wipe her tears. "Li Luo is so sad right now, why don't you take the initiative to lean on my shoulder? I've already taken the initiative so obviously, why can't you feel it? I'm not letting you cry so that you can think of leaning on my shoulder. I'll use the cold air on my body to freeze your tears so that you won't be able to cry." What a stupid woman! Li Luo also knew that today should be a happy day, and that her crying would affect her companion's emotions. Li Luo tried her best to hold back her tears as she said to the short-haired woman in purple armor beside her, "Thank you, Sister Ochre dear." The 13 people by Zi Qing's side were the 13 hall masters of the heaven-blessed mansion who hadn't gone on a mission yet. At this moment, the 13 hall masters all had their eyes fixed on the sun, waiting for the sun to form a permanent connection with the child of the Yugui and Xue Shuo after the sun chain. Only then would Yugui and Xue Shuo's child's bloodline be completely awakened. At this time, a little fox with 9 tails came out from a cluster of purple iris flowers beside Zi Qing. The 9-tailed little fox walked over to Zi Qing's side and asked, "Aunt Zi, looking at the sky, it's obvious that Radiance's Moon Empress helped Aunt Yugui and Uncle Xue Shuo's child. Why did I hear from Auntie Zi that there were other people who helped little sister Xueqing?" Zi Qing's eyes became moist when she heard the little fox mention Xueqing's name. As time passed, the old friend had passed away. At this moment, Zi Qing looked at the orange-red handkerchief in her hand and felt that her bright, kind, and dignified younger sister was still there. Yugui was the number 2 hall master of the heaven-blessed mansion. This ranking didn't mean that Yugui was very strong. The hall masters of the heaven-blessed mansion had always been ranked not according to strength but according to age. It could be said that the establishment of the heaven-blessed mansion was the idea of Zi Qing and Yugui. Zi Qing and Yugui had watched almost all the heaven's chosen spirits grow up. Zi Qing and Yugui had always played the role of the head of the heaven-blessed mansion. After all, the head of the family couldn't go around telling their children their thoughts. Thus, no one understood Yugui's desire for a child better than Zi Qing. End of this chapter.